maybe I'm not close enough to the microphone.
We're live.
Yeah, I think we are live. Look at that. La-di-da. All right, so hey everybody, I'm Dustin Coyner from the TrackDaz program here in Southern California, and I'm on live with Chuck Giacchetto from the Westby Racing team.
Dude, check it out. I just got my alert saying that you and I are going to be on. It's so cool.
Look at that.
It's like
so I guess it must be real then.
It's real somewhere. Somebody's watching. I bet more pricks are watching this tonight than they watched the debate last night, huh? Or at least they'll stay tuned to this longer.
I mean, honestly, man, what a shit show. But
that was horrible.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Dude, Stamboli was like, "This is fun." I'm like, "You're a maniac."
I mean, that's like the one unified thing everybody's saying is, God, a shit show. But you know,
Whatever.
My wife and I were somewhere else, and we just only caught like the last 10 minutes of it or whatever. But
exactly, the shenanigans are. You can't. I don't even want to talk. I mean, so much pins on that thing, but I don't even want to talk about it. Thank God we have 2 more rounds left. I'm like thankful that COVID came through because it pushed our season even farther.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, y'all are going late, man. Late October.
Right? I love it. I think it's great because, dude, you have like all this time in the off season, and then all of a sudden you like your hair comes flying out of the top of your fucking head because you're like, we're out of time, and you've had like 7 or 8 months off, for God's sakes. Hurry up to do nothing.
Yeah, so you know what, man? Like, let's talk about it. You guys
Sure.
have really started to come on that second half of the season, man. You guys are in the front every weekend. You're right there. You're either, battling with Jake, or you're up front trying to battle with Cameron, right? So tell me how it's going.
And man, I've told Ed, my crew chief, and the guys too, all the guys on the team, and I'm not discriminating here. We have females on the team, but they're just not on the technical part of the team. So at any rate, I'm super happy, dude. Like I'm usually a cranky son of a bitch with all this stuff. And what I'm trying to do is only look at what's right in front of me instead of what could be down the path. I'm super happy. I'm really pleased with what the guys have done and what Matthew's done. Matthew's really matured a lot. I had him at the shop today just for a little while, and
really,
I was because he only lives right down the street. But I'm really glad, man. He did a lot of stuff good this year so far, and there's a lot of stuff outside of the racetrack, the confines of the racetrack. He has a lot more responsibilities than people think, and he has really done a really good job. And I think the best could really be yet to come from him in both facets, on and off the track. The off the track stuff, people say I shouldn't be concerned with, but I am, because we have an image to uphold. Right. But on the track stuff, Dustin, it's so exciting. Like, I'm really excited again now. People say, "Oh, well, you must be getting bored finishing second and third to the attack guys," and it's absolutely not true. I don't care who we're chasing. But you can see the improvements, and we're not having mechanicals on the bike, so like you can keep doing laps. And I'm in a really good place. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, he's so exciting to watch because he's all lanky. He's like a goddamn gorilla on the thing, and it's just like, how the hell is gigantic dude goes so fast?
It's pretty amazing. I'm going to throw somebody a bone here real quick. Superbike Unlimited is one of our finest sponsors.
Yeah.
And I think they attribute to the lankiness of Matthew Skoltz, and I just want to thank them for all they do. Go Superbike Unlimited. At any rate, that was a shameless plug for one of my best buddies.
Those guys are good dudes. I use the same bodywork that Richard uses, and
yeah.
He went through some body work over the last few rounds, and I have a whole set sitting there, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, dude,
right?
Can I borrow your upper? You're not using it."
Right. Well, what's funny? What's funny is we still have a bunch of tails. Well, we had a bunch of tails left over from our previous supporter through SBU. I'm not going to mention their name because we're on the finest bodywork there is, which is shark skins, by the way. Built, that's right, designed and built here in the great old US of A.
Your pinky out.
That's right, in the US of A. No, but so yeah, Richard was like, hey man, can I get some of those tails for me? Yeah, sure, no problem. And Freddie was like, oh dude, thanks for sending those tails. You're really bailing me out because I come out from outside the country. It's like this big thing between the two teams and Superbike Unlimited. It's a kind of a lazy Susan of a relationship, if you will. One hand always washes the other. But no, he just sent me a text message. Freddie did, and he's like, as per our SBU agreement, if you can mention SBU every 3 minutes, the lawyers will be counting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Freddie's
where this is going, you need SBU to sponsor your show now. This is where this is going.
That'd be nice.
Hell yes.
You know what? I mean, I've actually prepped most of the parts I am putting on this, what I call sexual chocolate that's over the shop right now. Most of the parts came from Freddie, you know, I mean, except for everything that Richard makes.
Yep.
Then the Yamaha kit parts and stuff, everything else, no shit, everything else came from Freddie.
You know, dude, your bike is going to be delicious. That's all I can tell you. When it's really done, like when it's really done and you just throw your leg over it. And,
yeah, I mean, you know, wheelie Wednesday is never going to be the same, right?
Oh man, motorcycles are awesome. I love what they do for people. I really do. I don't even ride anymore, and I just, you know, I'm gay for it, man. I love it.
Wow. Okay. It's that kind of show, right?
Hey, you're gay for it. Are you down or what?
Okay, so you saw the picture I sent you, right, of what Matt from Color Zone's doing?
Yes. Dude, Trig Westby, I'm going to show him that, and he will love it because, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Color Zone dude was like, I'm not scared. Check this out. I got you. And then it's like tubes of glitter.
You know, I
mean, it's like, how does that even, I don't even know how that works and how to make it look like bass mode or whatever. But I mean, literally, it looks like he paints it and goes.
Right. The cool thing is, though, you know, sometimes those guys bitch about that because it really does take a lot of work to lay that paint and wet sand it and everything.
Yeah.
But when it's done, you know, the guy will be running around like Tarzan because it's going to look, it's obnoxiously awesome. You know, it's like, it's disco, man. The thing is disco.
That's what I'm all about, dude. So
hey, I just wanted to say to you personally, I got the sniffles tonight. It's a little chilly here in Atlanta. I don't want anybody to think that I needed anything to keep me up here in front of the computer. So it's rude. I don't have the COVID. No, I'm not using drugs.
So you don't have the COVID and you're not doing coke bumps. Got it.
I can't. Could you imagine if I did coke bumps? That would be bad. I would stroke right out.
Oh my God, dude.
It would be awful. The show would be over and everybody would be happy.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Good grief.
Gil Ramos says, #gay for it is my new tagline.
As it should be. As it should be.
Oh,
look,
man.
you want to talk about sexual chocolate? There's some brown goodness right there.
Yeah, we have a lot of little Gil jokes that we can tell.
I like Gil. He's a good boy. He and my mom get along real good when they're at the track. Shocker. They rap. Oh, hey
Shocker.
now.
He and your mom get along.
My mom's not like Stifler's mom, so I mean, so what? I mean, as far as I know, do you know something I don't know?
Hey, you said she's Gil, so I mean, yeah. So back to what's going on with your racing stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. Call me nuts if you have to, but it seems like Matty's gone faster since you made him shave that porn stash off.
It is. I'm gonna take the kudos for that.
Oh, are you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's bullshit. You know that. I mean, he's got that porn stash is absolutely horrible.
Dude, it's ridiculous.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Hey, I saw a picture from him this weekend. He was at the Dane Westby Classic out in Tulsa. And he's like, oh, this is all it's like growing in like a billy goat on him after like 10 days. I'm like, dude, you're not in Alice in Chains. Shave that shit off your face.
He said Alice in Chains. Jesus.
He probably doesn't even know what Alice in Chains is.
I do. He probably.
I know you do. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get serious now. But no, I think Matt is doing good. He's definitely riding to expectations. His feedback is really good. I know the technical side of the team is really happy with him right now, and he is excited. The guys have a plan. I think they wanted to execute last year, but last year was so boffed up. We're executing it this year, or not we are, they are. And we're actually learning an awful lot more every lap and every session.
Really?
But it is nice to have that that one bike as inspiration, to be honest with you. I hate to keep talking about Cam, but
Yeah.
it is a pleasure to have him around, if for nothing else, a rabbit, you know.
I mean,
I think we would still go as fast, but it might take a longer time, you know. I
yeah.
really do.
I mean, honestly, you guys seem to be getting closer and closer. What do you guys think as a team, or what do you guys have to do, or what does Maddie have to do to get that W? Like how?
I I think we just need to, I think we need to make each motion count, and then turn it into a bike that's well prepared. Make each lap count so it turns into a session. Um, it's weird. When I was a crew chief, I would throw a lot of things at a rider and maybe spitball it a little bit, actually, if you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And Ed is the exact opposite. He has a really good plan, and he's always had a really good plan, but he will not go from A to C or A to D. And he's very methodical like that. At times for me in the past years, it was frustrating, but I just confessed to him the other day. I said, man, your way really works good. And yeah, I'm thrilled. But I do think that, like I've been telling people, I think it's meter by meter now that we're catching Cam in any corner that we can, not because we're out breaking him or anything like that, but I don't think, he's one of those guys, right, where Matt will go, ooh, there goes Cam, and he'll go out behind him or something like that or whatever. And you just don't, he's powerful enough to break you, but you got to be ballsy enough to stay with him for a few corners just to see what's going on. And I think once Matt has an example of that, it's a lot easier to do it. And let's face it, he's not doing it by a straightaway at a time. And maybe he could, maybe Cam is rolling out of the gas, or what, Cam's preserving a lead, whatever. He's smart. He's a brilliant rider, and so be it. But I feel we're getting closer. It's incrementally, but there's so many things last year that I was so struggling with and couldn't understand. And now towards the end of this year, it's all coming to fruition, and the guys are very much in control. The team's very much in control right now. I'm really proud of them. I really am. And I'm excited to have these last two rounds with 3 races at each as well. That's going to give us some more time.
There's 2 rounds, but you got to cram 6 races into those 2 rounds. That's got to be nuts.
I can tell you, I think Matthew has the physical capability, and I think he's really close to doing it mentally. And I feel that that our guys can get him closer and closer with every lap and every session. Again, I don't want to say, oh, at Indy, the first race we want to stay with him for a quarter of the laps. The second race, half the race. The third, I don't think that's going to be the case, to be honest with you. You're going to take it as it goes, but I would like to think that we can close the gap little by little. And I'm not even talking about the gap at the end of the race, because the gap at the end of the race, it has to be nothing. The guy's a badass. I just don't think you go in there and you slap him in the face. I don't think he gets back on his heels like that. I don't know, his team owner / crew chief, or whatever you want to call that guy.
/ truck driver / engine builder.
Right.
That dude wears a lot of hats over there.
He wears a lot of hats. Did you notice, did you ever, when you talk to him, dude, does he like ding you and he dings you and you don't want to say something back? Like he's doing it.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I say something back. Like that's
right. No, you do, but I do too. Like,
yeah.
The other day, he's like, oh, yeah, well, Cameron this and Cameron that and Cameron. I'm like, oh, you might see it that way. I didn't see it that way. I mean, I saw, like, you guys were over there at your gas tank. Oh, yeah, we're just experimenting with something and da-da-da-da-da. I mean, I'm going, like, you're the man, dude. I'm not trying to say that you're not the man.
Yeah, I mean, he's, when I talk to him, he's not really focused on being the man. He wants to keep giving Cameron what he wants,
Dude.
I mean, that's all he gives a shit about is,
right.
making the thing comfortable for Cameron to ride. And then, Cameron does his thing, that's what he's paid for. So, it's really weird how simplistic he makes everything he's doing sound, when in reality, everybody looks at it, it's like, dude, well, that's just because you're Richard. you know? So, and it's like, when he's talking to me about it, I'm like, shit, okay. So I think at the Laguna round, I think I'm going to go there and kind of be like,
That would be awesome.
I'm going to try to be like Richard's data intern bitch to see.
Yeah, well, what you need to do is
look
you need
over his shoulder and find out what
you need to get over on the other side of the fence and nose around a little, you know, behind the computer. So, no, I mean, that's the thing. Like, even when Rich and I talked last night about some of this stuff, I think it all lies in the challenge for him. Of course, I'm sure he does not mind having a #1 plate holder on the team winning the championship, him being I mean, who doesn't love all that stuff? If somebody tells you they don't love that and it doesn't mean anything to them, they're full of shit. But
yeah,
you know, we talk about this stuff all the time with the rules and everything, you know, especially when they talk about bringing rules back. I'll tell you, that's a quick way to, I think it's a quick way to kind of run him out of the show.
right.
You know?
Well, he's that tuner tinker guy, you know,
Yeah.
and he really likes the World Superbike thing, because he feels that, you know, the way the rules are right now, I mean, basically he could build a bike to race Moto America, and if he wanted to, they could do like a wild card or something World Superbike if they wanted to, you know.
I think that's something, I don't want to speak for Richard, but I think that's something that we both really enjoy doing. And I think if we parlayed, not an effort, but if we parlayed it financially with logistics and shipping and stuff like that, I think it's something that's very attainable, very doable. I know my guys would love it. I'm not sure if Trig would love it. He would love it if I went, it's not going to cost you anything. And then he'd still go, you're full of shit, it's going to cost me something. But no, I think that's, I think it's super, I think it's super attainable. But, you know, the whole thing kind of, at any rate, sorry, I get off topic again, but the whole thing with catching up to Cam is, it's not just catching up with Cam, it's catching up with the team as a whole.
Right.
I think our team is on par with their team.
I mean,
but I think that
you guys have the same motorcycle, right? I mean,
obviously it's very close.
Richard makes his own swing arms because he's
yes.
Richard. But I mean, you guys have the fancy Suter swing arm, right?
So fancy.
Suter clutch.
And I want to tell you that swing arm was brought to us by Superbike Unlimited, and all of our clutch components are brought to us by Suter. So yes, shameless plugs. But no, the stuff is really good, and I don't know that.
Preparation wise, I'm saying, like, you guys have basically the same wiring and data package, right?
Yes.
You guys have the same swing arm pivot, because I know he made it for you, probably,
yes.
right? You guys have the fancy swing arm. You guys have the kitchen wheels. You get all the shit on the bike. And you have like this crazy rider that's got talent, and he's kind of a maniac, right?
So, did you ever notice how much he can drag an elbow because he's so tall?
Dude, he's all elbows and legs.
It's like a grasshopper.
He's like a praying mantis on the motorcycle.
That's what I meant to say. Boy, I know my insects.
Yeah, like he's just a giant, just, you know, he's like a cartoon. And
he is. You know what? I know that it hurts him in a couple of places, you know, like on a straightaway and stuff like that. I really think it does. But man, that guy, he's so fit and he's so in shape. His size, he can manipulate that motorcycle, I think, like other people can't. Now, maybe we make it easier yet for him to ride at some point, and he won't have to exert as much energy as he does. But I think his upper body strength and his leg strength really comes into play on these weekends. I really do, especially at a place like Barber. You know, he won't get worn down, and I attribute his size at that place. I think it's good.
There was a sector I want to say it was at Barber. There was a sector on the racetrack where he was the fastest of anybody, right?
Yeah, that was in Sector 1. Yeah. You know, he went purple.
Why was he so much faster than everybody there?
I don't know if he might be closing his eyes when he chops the throttle and just down into 1. But I was standing on the wall with our Dustin Metter, and I was watching the phone, and I'm like,
guy, right?
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Purple.
Yeah.
You know, for like lap after lap, and I'm like, And then Cam's coming. You know, you can see him coming, and it's pretty awesome, dude, to have all those fast laps in those fast sectors. That I think is the biggest deal as to where I'm proud, because I know those guys work so hard on the data and on the chassis, and just that's cool to see purple, and or it's cool to see green too, and I wish everybody had a session like that. I really do, because it's really fulfilling, man. I mean, it's really fulfilling.
So, you know what? Let's talk about Moto America for a little bit. I
Sure.
mean, with Crave Group, right? That's the name of it.
Crave Group, LLC, Moto America.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
those
these
guys.
guys, I mean, honestly, as a fan anyway, like it seems like they've done a great job since they've taken over from those NASCAR idiots that tried to kill our sport.
Boo.
Right?
Jerry Springer, 2 thumbs down.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, they seem like they've done a really good job with that kind of stuff. What do you think Moto America needs to do to kind of bring more Superbike teams in? I hear stuff. I've heard all of it, right? Like, oh, we got to take the money out of it, make it cheaper, and dumb
God,
down this and dumb down
I'm
that.
ready
Like,
to
what do you think
choke.
Moto
Look,
America needs to do?
yeah. So, um, still, this is the easiest thing. There is a load of money to be earned at these Moto America Superbike races. And Moto America is very concerned, in my opinion, they're very concerned as to how they're viewed and how they're viewed in social media. And I think they do a lot of wonderful things for their fans, but more importantly, I think they do a lot of wonderful things for their patrons. There's a bunch of shit I don't like, but that's just me. You know what I mean? But in general, it's a very good program. And when you add up the money that you could make, you'd be really surprised. And I think it's scary to jump off in the deep end and do a Superbike program. But if you did it the way we did it at first, or like what's his face, Corey Alexander, he's doing the Superbike Cup, and so is Cameron. Dude, I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if one of those guys ends up putting it on the box like Matt did or like Fong did back in the day, right? Especially if it gets wet out. And then they're making good money. Those guys, once they start doing that, they're making really good money. I wouldn't start out with a full-blown Superbike, man. I would ease my way into it. But getting back to the Moto America thing is, I think they need to advertise that purse and the possibility way, way more. Like big, like comic book ad type of things with a dude holding all the cash like this, all fanned out.
The big oversized check.
Right. But dude, it's true. Like, I don't want to get into Richard's financial stuff. I don't want to talk about his or Triggs, but obviously when the scale of money that we're spending on these teams is different. But when you have a small Superbike team, you can make the same money that almost the top 3 guys are making. I mean, it's really good. The money's really good. And I think if they advertise that, a lot more guys would do it, and a lot more guys would do the Superbike Cup. People go, well, I can't win that, and I can't this, and I can't that. Well, I don't know. Tell Max Flinders that.
Right.
You
I mean, it's sort of that Superbike Cup thing is sort of starting to turn those super stock guys into, you remember back in the day when it was 750 still, right?
Yeah, man.
A lot of those 750 dudes, they would race in Superbike too, because they would actually get a bigger take home, even though they were finishing like 22nd or something.
Right.
They would still bring home like a pretty decent amount.
But it's okay. So they go, well,
Clark, that
right.
Clark out of Kansas City, and then there was like,
dude,
Misdall.
It goes back, right? It goes back into the 80s. Scott Zampak,
dude.
Eric Moe. There's a shit ton of guys, and they were involved in the sport for a long time. But of course, times have changed, and the patrons and the riders have changed, and now we're going through that cycle again. So I'm listening to all this stuff about where riders are going to go and who's going to do what, and there's no opportunities. Well, I call bullshit on that, because, like, I hope Matt's with us for a good long time, but he's going to retire someday. People are going to start moving around a little bit more. Everybody wants more, and they're going to start looking to the next generation, like the Sean Dillon Kellys, the Blake Davises, definitely the Richie Escalantes,
Rocco. right?
There's a bunch more of the guys, and I think there's even more talent in that junior cup that people realize, because those kids, I don't think a lot of them have been tainted yet. I like the Roach kid over there in Junior Cup, and I like the Davis kid, and I like my kid Corey. You know what I mean? But let's face it, he doesn't have a future in racing Junior Cup. This was something to get him some exposure and get Yamaha some exposure and show our support for the class. But at any rate,
he's the only Yamaha kid in the class right now, right?
What's that?
He's the only Yamaha kid in the class, right?
He is, and I think he's got a lot of balls doing it. And yeah.
What's the deal with that, man? Like, every time, it's so weird with the way the manufacturers work. Like, why don't they all just have a 300 or a 400 or whatever? It seems like every time one comes out with one, it's like, oh yeah, we'll come out with a 320, and Kawasaki's like, oh yeah, we'll come out with a 400. It's like, I guess Yamaha's gonna have to make a 420 now.
Well, hey-oh, you said it, not me. Dun, dun, dun. That Yamaha, we're allowed to really do some stuff to that bike. You're allowed a flat top pistol YEC piston, a set of cams, a set of velocity stacks, some gaskets. You can modify the airbox. Like Cody's bike, his bike usually makes between 48 and 50 horsepower, which isn't bad.
Yeah, that's definitely not a stock R3.
No. But like most of your Kawasaki's are the same horsepower. I mean, let's face it, they will accelerate quicker because there's more cubes there, but they've got those guys really locked down. And I got to say that it's pretty impressive that some of those guys are doing what they're doing on those Kawasaki's running away. And the other thing that I know for a fact is that the Yamaha chassis is way better than the Kawasaki chassis. I think it's a little tough for Cody because he's obviously a bigger guy. I think he's the biggest guy in the class. And again, that's okay. But I think I think somebody stands as good a chance on the Yamaha as they do the Kawasaki, especially if the person is small. And the other thing about that class is, you really gotta drop the hammer, Dustin. You can't roll corners in there, and those kids want to win bad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Rocco's really racing. Rocco's really racing right now. Sam Lockoff is really racing. The rest of the guys are fighting tenaciously, chopping each other's wheels. And I'm not saying they're riding sloppy. I'm just saying they're given 11 tenths behind them. And, Dominic Doyle is obviously in that top 3 group too, and Teague. I don't want to discount anybody in there, but Rocco's really the only one that can run away and relax, pretty much because he's like one of those guys on the insurance commercial. He's a motor or whatever they call him. He's half bike. But no, you can do it on a Yamaha, and they offer some good contingency too. But if I'm a kid and I'm looking at 400 cc's, doesn't look too shabby either. I mean, it's like Stamboli said about the 636,
right.
It is what it is, but it's 2 more millimeters, baby. And why wouldn't you use it?
Right.
So no, but getting back to the Moto America thing, I think they're doing exactly what they need to be doing. I certainly hope they keep the Superbike rules the same as they are. That's the class I pay attention to most, I would say. I think the electronics are finally where they need to be. We're still in the learning process about our system, and I'm happy with it because the guys are happy with it. Obviously, the Suzuki guys have some stuff that Yoshimura or American and Japan, Suzuki Japan handed off to them that's very sophisticated. And I think, obviously, if they get some more time on that, they're going to learn how to manipulate it even more so and be even better than they already are. So we got several people on Motec in the field, which is good. We got a guy that's on BMW stuff. Yeah. There's a lot more electronics. If you really went, there's a lot more people have electronics than you think, right? So you got Cameron and Jake, you got Maddie, you got Bobby, you got Tony, you got Heron, you got Aussie Dave, you got Sam Federico. So I mean, there's 8 guys right there.
Well, Bradley Ward up until couple rounds ago, right?
Yeah, does he has Motec on his bike as well, doesn't he?
I don't know. He had I mean, I think he was riding Aussie Dave's old Cowie
Yeah,
Superbike.
which had Motec on it.
Right.
So I mean, when you look at it, let's just say the top 8 or top 10 players have proper electronics on their
K-Dub too,
bike.
right? K-Dub too. Kyle Wyman.
Oh shit! What an idiot I am. Sorry, Kyle. Really, I am totally. Yeah, probably the fastest bike in the paddock. Jerk face.
That
Sorry,
dude's a
dude.
beast too. Like I had a call with him here on the YouTube thing a few weeks ago.
Did all they want to do is talk about Hannah?
No, that's what all the fans wanted to talk about.
Hell yeah. She's a good girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so Kyle's take was quite similar to yours and Richard's with regards to electronic stuff. He's like, dude, if I need to change something, I just go on the laptop, boom, boom, and then I'm out on track, And a lot of the people that are, the internet know-it-alls, right? They're the ones that are complaining about that stuff, and it's like, dude, if we do it the other way, it'll cost us more money.
Right.
So
And
more
I'll be
effort,
honest
too.
with Dustin, between myself and Richard and some other guys in the paddock, you don't want to go down a road of kit ECUs. I mean, let's be honest about it, right?
Right.
You can pretty much unlock anything you want. Now, you obviously you can't do it with a 2020 R1, and Yamaha did that for a reason. They've been wanting to do it for a while, and they finally did it. And good for them. It's proprietary.
Yeah, the Flash Tune guy, I know he's helped us out for a long time. And
Right.
I'm like, look, man, I
Yeah,
know
I
he's
mean,
tried. I know he's tried, but I guess
yeah.
there's a
I
few
mean,
other bikes that have that new kind of port on there too that kind of makes it almost impossible, right?
yeah. I mean, Yamaha doesn't want it going on. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the other manufacturers don't either. I certainly respect what those guys have done in the past and what they're doing now by manipulating those ECUs. But to be honest, we spent a good amount of money getting our stuff, but I'm sure glad that we used it. Even a lot of the components that are associated with that Superbike kit are really good. Like, the shifter for that is it's stupid money. I could have got 20 free ones, that would have never broken that I used in the past, Translogic and Dynajet, and their stuff was wonderful. But, Herschel wanted to use this special one that's on there. And you know what? He has saved us from going down a rabbit hole like 3 times. So it's like,
Yeah.
Now we're not guessing. Now we can see it. All of the other sensors, everything is good and robust. The GIP, the ECU, the wheel speed sensors. It's all really, really good stuff. I'd say your most vulnerable part, obviously, are your stroke sensors and your dash. I mean, the dash is a little heavy, so once that gets flipping up upside down, Jake Gagne, you probably need an invoice after that last crash.
Well,
Sorry, Jake.
my uppers getting painted in attack colors, right?
Yes. Not like Jake wants to fall, though.
No, dude, like he's just trying hard. I mean,
Really hard.
it happens, and he's getting close to, and he's learning. He's having to. I don't want to speak for him, but it looks like he's like having to relearn how to ride a motorcycle.
I think you and I talked about this before, but I think this is his most legitimate opportunity that he's had, obviously, since for a long time. I mean, he had a really good program with the Road Race Factory guys, and they were like a La Familia over there. So they always took care of him and whatnot, especially when he was on the Yamaha. They had a really nice tool to work with. I mean, they crushed everybody in Superstock that year.
Yeah.
But I think, Jake traveled the world and he was all over the place for a while. And I don't say that in a negative way, but he wasn't grounded here with Richard or us or
Right.
anybody. He had the Road Race Factory crew guys, but when they parted ways, he went on his own,
Yeah,
and had to trust a bunch of different people. And I think he's finally in a position right now. Like next year, dude, that guy's going to be hell on wheels.
Yeah, I mean, Richard and I have talked about it.
Not that he's not now, because he is. He's ahead of us in the points, for Christ's sakes.
I mean, right? I mean, y'all are right close, right? But Richard and I talked about it quite a bit, and he's just like, dude, next year he's gonna do what Gerloff did his second year.
I believe that as well. I really do. I really do. Jake's got a lot left in the tank, and I think Jake, again, I don't know this for a fact, but I think he's just starting to get healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I always thought that, you know, if he was, you could see it, right? When he's limping around and you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
damn, dude, like, when that guy gets healthy, he's going to be really dangerous.
Dude, when I saw his ankle or his leg after he broke it, I have a
Yeah.
pretty strong stomach for stuff like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, man,
Yeah.
somebody
Ooh.
give me something to drink. I got dry mouth. It looked so painful, dude. It looks so painful. He's like, dude, this is great compared to what it was 3 months ago. I'm like, God damn.
So we've got a guy asking a question. His name is, sorry, man, Tyson Thurman.
Okay.
And he wants to know, why isn't the R1 as successful in super stock? Like, I have my opinion on that. What do you think? My opinion is that it's maybe not successful necessarily because not very many people are riding it, because the other brand is paying just a ridiculous amount of contingency and made that other bike more attractive. Does that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So Tyson, the guy's name is?
Well, I'm gonna go with Tyson.
Okay. If I'm messing your name up, sir, I'm truly sorry. I'm just dealing with my colleague here, Dustin. So I got to tell you, you look back at 2015, no other brand won a race that year. In 2016, maybe a couple times. 2017, maybe a couple times. I think when you look at an R1 on the dyno stock and you look at a horsepower number, and then you pull up a ZX10 or a BMW or even a GSXR to that point, you go, man, why would I ride this when I can ride this? And a lot of times it's between 7 or 10 or 12 horsepower on a dyno. So you get really bummed out. The Yamaha, I think, is the easiest one to go racing on in super stock trim. It's already got magnesium wheels on it. It's got good brakes on it. The electronics via YEC or flash tune are really good. The bike's super easy to ride and it drives a lot. The thing of it is you know, just like anything else, I think a lot of times guys like only want to pass on a straightaway or something, you know, because they're looking for this horsepower. I mean, I'm looking for horsepower, no doubt, but I think in the stock form, when they look at the Kawasaki or something and it makes more horsepower, I think that draws it to them to that package quickly. And especially like you said, the contingency for some of those brands is quite strong. It's quite strong. But on the other hand, a Yamaha goes around a corner nicely. And I know that the ZX10 is a bit of a challenge and the BMW is a bit of a challenge. But I think if you look back in history from 2015 on, in recent history, you'll see that the Yamaha has won that championship several times, and tens and tens of races were won by them. I think that's some of it. And like you said, I do believe that the contingency also has something to do with it. And I think there's also, to be honest with you, a little bit of psyche and going, man, I want to ride something different. You know, the Richard and I joke, and the R6 and the R1 are pretty much the small block and big block Chevrolet of road racing, at least in this country. You know,
That's a pretty fair answer, I
sure.
think. I mean, you know, I'm still kind of I haven't raced in a while, but I still am not done yet, right? And
Right.
yeah, I mean, you see it at the club level too. You know, I mean, when the BMW came out, just like you said, it was like the dyno champion.
Yeah.
It was up, and then a lot of those guys got rid of that thing, you know, and in favor of some other stuff. And you know, same thing even out at Chuck Walla. You know, I mean, it used to be for a couple years, it was like the R1 Cup out there, and
Right.
then it's kind of slowly transitioned into the green bikes. And you know, a lot of those guys are national guys like Michael, you know, and even Corey too, Corey Alexander too. And you know, I was like, man, I was trying to figure out why the hell are they on those things? But the reality was that they were making a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, and I think that other brand pays more. I think I think not only do they offer a larger monetary payout, I think they pay out in more at more events. And I could be wrong. I don't know what their payout is like. Um, uh, I mean, I think they're all pretty good, but man, I think if you took 10 guys and the 10 top guys and you put them on a super stock bike that myself or Richard are built, they would go, you know what? Let me take that back. That Richard and his guys built, or my guys built, not me, that my guys built, and went head to head, I think they would pick the R1s because we have the setup knowledge. But it's also important to remember that all that stuff trickles down. And that's part of the activation with Attack and Westby Yamaha, is people coming to us and been able to get a setup. And sometimes it's quite detailed. When you move into Superbike, a lot of things change, but for super stock, there's some pretty common core value numbers that work good, that we're not afraid of sharing. But again, right, you have to be disciplined with anything. So I think also this year, in the very beginning, everybody was like, oh man, that 2020 Yamaha R1 is not, it's the same thing. It's the same bike. It's not the same bike.
Dude, it's not the same bike. I mean, we actually did some overlay stuff on the dyno with the stalker. And,
Scary, isn't it?
I bring bikes in there every year, right? Because, we're supported by Yamaha in a big way, thankfully. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So when that new bike came out, you better bet your ass I was over at the TAC to find out what the hell is going on with it.
Did it freak you out?
No. It didn't surprise me at all. We did an overlay from my last year's bike, my 2019, and Joseph, before he became the Gimp,
get the Gimp.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Joseph over at Attack, like he played dirt bike. He's got like an erector set in his arm and stuff. It's ridiculous. But Joseph ran the 2020 bike on the dyno, and we're like, shit, man, this thing, it's like 10 horsepower more in the middle. And it's about 4 more on top. But I mean, on top at Chuck Waller or Buttonwillow, you're not noticing that. Maybe at Willow Springs you would notice it, but at Buttonwillow you really notice that 10 in the middle, and Chuck Waller too. And it's like, holy crap, dude! Like, this thing is really getting off the corner. And then we found out why, because it was on the dyno. And so
you got to think about this. Like when that 2015, when the 2CR model came out, that thing was hell on wheels, dude. It couldn't do anything wrong,
Yeah.
Except break crankshafts for some people, and I'm sorry that happened to them, but we never had one break.
I mean, anyway. A lot of broken crankshafts in.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not, it never, for the record, for Westby Racing, it never happened. I don't understand why. I'm not sure how many people had problems. I can tell you that I have spoken to a Yamaha official, and in the real side of Yamaha, not racing, and there were very few issues about crankshafts.
Yeah, I remember that. And one of those officials that you talked to is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he gave me the number of cranks that were sold in the US.
Yeah. Were you astonished by the number?
It was, he had an actual number. And that number was oddly very similar to the number coming out of Oregon.
Right.
So. Anyway, so.
Yikes.
Yeah. Anyway, so
but again, to just get back to the point about the 2020 real quick, is I don't think the bike's getting the love and the affection that it should from the general public. And what I want people to say is, don't, looks are deceiving. The bike is only changed a little bit aesthetically, but like there are no camshafts with any lift. The camshafts that we use only have duration, the YEC camshaft. There's not a valve spring available for that bike, so you really can't have a big camshaft in it. Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but with the people I know, nobody's decided on a cylinder head configuration to just go and bang a bunch of them out. And obviously the rest of the motor is pretty stock, to say the least. It's not like so.
I mean, from what I understand, talking to Richard, I mean, it's basically pretty stock from the head gasket down.
It really is. I can tell you that our bike has ceramic transmission bearings in it, and the transmissions were rem finished at Yoshimura Suzuki, They did that as part of our sponsorship. And our connecting rods have not ever been broken loose from the crankshaft.
Wow.
You know, our engine builder flipped the thing up on its backside, did the tranny, did the bearings, and put it back together. And we've been running on stock lower runs with the exception of our wonderful Suter slipper clutches. That's the only modification there is. And we've been very, very fortunate. We haven't had any transmission issues or anything like that. And again, I will also attribute that to the electronics, the way Herschel has the shifter ramped in and out. So it's amazing how many of these things come back and forth. But I think that 2020 bike in another year, like when we come back and we talk a year from now about this bike, I bet we're making 7 or 8 more horsepower up top and a few other things. We just the COVID messed everything up, and then I think there's a lot of room for growth with that.
Well, you know, another thing that we didn't even mention, never, you know, in addition to the engine stuff, but honestly, the throttle response is much better on the 20.
It's crazy, right?
I told Richard in one of our YouTube chats or whatever that that honestly, the stock bike, just the throttle response is better than our fully developed, you know, race team package stuff that we had on our 15 bike.
It's almost too perfect. That throttle, like the stock throttle, you know, we use a different brand throttle, obviously. We use the same one Richard does. And if you grab that and then you grab your stock one, I'm not sure if it's the spring is lighter in the stock one or not, but the stock one almost seems like it's better connected almost, if you will. It's not soft, you know what I mean? It is impressive. Let's just say that. And the way they have the fuel injectors positioned in the thing now, the way they're located, and they actually spray at the back side of the valve. I mean, before, if you look at a drawing of it, man, the thing was spraying towards the back of the cylinder head and then splashing down onto the valve. So all that stuff and everything being shorter, and the ports have been reduced in size. Like I said, it's exciting.
Richard sent me a laundry list of what was different.
Yes.
I was like, I don't give a shit about any of that, dude. I just want to go, you know?
Exactly. Don't spare me the details, Richard.
Yeah, like just fix it, dude. Just make it work, you know, make it easy to ride, all that. Like, I don't need to know that. Like, try the thing. And everything you're saying, I'm just like, whoop.
Right. Exactly. You're only retaining the parts that are good for you.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where's the wheelie button? That's what I want to know.
Right. Hey, can we do a shameless sponsorship promotion right now?
Sure.
I want to talk about Yoshimura real quick, who's also a sponsor of TrackDaz, and you, Dustin. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I called them up the other day and I'm like, man, we're not doing anything new. And like, we got the same stuff and we want flash, and I want to do a MotoGP muffler. And they're like, dun, 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 check out this new AR2. So we're going to have this new AR2 muffler, this really kind of stealthy looking muffler for Indy. But the real reason I wanted to bring them up is because apparently you told me that you have a Works Yoshimura pipe, you bastard.
Yeah, Yasaki Yoshimura.
He
sent me a text message. I was like riding Supermoto Saturday night, and I got a text message from him, and he's like, "Hey man, you want me to bring that pipe on Monday?" Yes,
absolutely.
Coming out to ride with us on Monday.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if you saw, but he's got a new Mythos suit. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. He's got like a full pimpy Mythos suit that's like got the classic Yoshimura stuff on it.
Really?
Dude, it's so sick looking. Anyway, so he's coming out to ride Monday, and
he's a good dude, man.
And so he texts me. I don't know. It all bleeds together, dude. Like it was either yesterday or today.
Right.
But he texts me and he's like, "Oh, by the way, you need the oil pan." I'm like, great.
And what did I say to you? I went, "Hey man, that oil pan's like $3,500."
Yeah, you shut your face.
Oh, dude.
I broke the news to Richard, and he basically told me he was going to shake me and my wife upside down until our pockets are empty.
Speaking of oil pans, though, I gotta have another shameless plug here for Richard Stamboli and the Attack Performance machine shop, because we are not using a YEC oil pan in some pickup. We are using the Ultra Trick Richard Stamboli Attack Performance two-piece billet pan.
Yeah, he's gonna
lovely.
he's gonna make me one of those.
Oh man, I hope dude, like I hope he lights the thing off soon, because ours are on loan through our program, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna. I know
Maybe
you'll probably
give it
get
back and I'll get one.
He's like, hey Giacchetto, I need those pipes back or I need those pans back when the season. Dude, I almost cried.
Shit.
I'm like, what? But
Oh
and
man, I'm sorry.
I know. Hey, look, dude, you've been involved with Richard a lot longer than I have. So if I have to submit a pan, I don't have a problem submitting it for you. But no, it's been good, and that the pan is gorgeous. And but no, I wanted to do that lead in for you for your trick pipe for Yoshimura, and then for Richard. See, we did a triple whammy.
So sick. Yeah, like it's to have YY make me a pipe like that. It's just like, wow, bro, really? Thanks.
I gotta ask you a question though, dude. Serious. Can he ride for a shit?
Dude, YY comes out, he's good, man. Like he rides weird shit. Like he came out one time on like a KTM something or other. I don't even know. Like it looks like a upright dirt bike looking thing. I don't
Maybe they had it at the shop developing pipe, and he can just maybe he may have the situation where you can just take whatever's in the shop. So yeah.
I mean, Yosaku he's been riding with us for several years now, off and on, and
that's great.
He'll disappear for a couple years, and then he'll come back on some weird thing. Like he's super into motorbikes though, and
oh
yeah. So I mean, obviously he kind of has to be. He's a Yoshimura. Like
he is a Yoshimura.
Yeah,
actually, he is the Yoshimura.
He's Pops Yoshimura's grandson, so
that's right. I'm pretty sure that his days are a little bit more busy now that he's taken over the day-to-day running of Yoshimura USA. So
he's the CEO, right? So I mean, he's
whatever that means these days.
Yeah, well, he does.
I know he's not out surfing.
No, he's definitely not about surfing, not at all. Hey man, so we got another guy. He's asking about what about the V4R in super stock? I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like a month ago or something.
Well, I'm kind of and I'll just hit it quickly. I'm look, it's like the 636. You let it in, and after one round, my guys threw like 22 pounds at him, and you can't do that. You have to see the outcome of you can't see the outcome of what's going to happen, I should say. I think that bike was an extra special, potent machine with PJ Jacobsen on it. You can't tell me that just anybody is going to get on a fast bike and go straight to the front. That guy's a good rider. That team is good. They prepare machines well. So I think the result in the very beginning, at least, if he was on a Japanese motorcycle or another European motorcycle,
would have been the same.
I think so.
I mean,
that being said, though, I don't want to discredit Cam Peterson with what he's doing, because I think he obviously got slapped in the face at the first Elkhart, but then the shit was on after that. He's totally a refocused, reborn. I shouldn't say reborn. That's not right, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Transformed.
That he's woke.
Oh yeah.
I think it would lend for some really, no offense to PJ, but I think if PJ was healthy and riding that bike now, it may lend to some really good racing.
Yeah.
Even without, and I discount the weight, putting the weight on there. I don't think that was a smart move. And I'm sorry that the racing community had to deal with that. And I'm sorry, I'll be honest with you, man, I'm sorry for the guys at Celtic. I mean, that
well,
stinks.
I mean, they actually took it like champions though, right?
For sure, dude.
They we for weeks and weeks, right? It was like I was kind of scumbagging the Altus team, like, come on guys, let's build the Superbike, right? And they've been racing Superbike and doing pretty well, man. Like, Cammy he just shot at a podium last time. So
dude,
he was so close. I know he can taste it, right?
Well, he can do it, dude.
Yeah, so it's so cool seeing a private team like that. They're these dudes in like Podunk, Oklahoma dealership, and I want to say they're like, I don't know, like an hour from Fort Sill, Oklahoma or something like that. But yeah, you know, they got Melissa working as the crew chief. They got Josh
Right.
Hayes chatting in dude's ear. Like they've definitely stepped up their game there. And even with the kid too, you know, that Olmedo kid on the 600. I mean,
He's a hot rod dude.
he's the nicest guy ever. I mean, Kevin Olmedo is probably, I don't know, he's just such a good kid. He's
He
so
is a good kid.
mellow.
I didn't know. I thought he was Mexican. I didn't know he was from Colombia. So
Yeah.
I'd never spoken to him, and I saw him at Jersey, and I introduced myself. He came walking past the garage, and I said, "Hey, man, Josh Hayes says you're the shit." He says, "I'm shit," and I said, "No." He says, "You're the shit." Yes, I'm shit. That's what he says. I said, "No, no, no. You're the shit. Like you're cool. I'm cool." I had to go running for Josh, like, dude, I'm not trying to insult your guy. I'm trying to say, you know, you were kind of like pumping him up, and he says, yeah, he doesn't get any of that. And then the next time I saw him was at Barber, obviously, next week, and he had his hair all picked out, dude. So he had this bush like this. I didn't even know he had that much hair. He had it all
Oh,
tamped
man.
down before. Oh yeah, it was crazy. He looked like Kaepernick, for Christ's sakes, in
Oh
a
my
better
God.
looking Kaepernick.
Jesus. That's
Talk about a
hilarious.
dick.
But yeah, I mean, he's, you know, he's kind of making that transition from being a little bike racer to a 600 racer, and he's learning. You know, you could see it early
He's
on in the
ready.
season where he was doing 400 stuff.
Need to make sure, as a racing community goes, though, Dustin, in all seriousness, we need to make sure, even though it's not my responsibility, I feel it is the responsibility of us to talk a kid like that up, even if
Yeah,
he's not on our team, and build a little excitement so he can gather the support he needs to either move on or help that team move up through it and give him a more competitive bike, and et cetera, et cetera. That's one of the things that I love doing in this job, is being able to give back a little bit. And even if it's hyping someone up, I mean, you know, your name is and your word is your bond, and you don't want to,
yeah,
you don't
he's
want to make a mistake.
definitely,
But
you know,
that kid's going to be good.
I think he's, yeah, I mean, he's coming along, and, you know, just as a fan and, you know, somebody that's like been helping out kids and stuff for a long
Sure.
time, you know, you see him making that transition to the 600, and not all of the kids can do it. You know, they all don't figure it out. And
Hayes
he's coming
swears by
along
the
and
kid.
he's in there scrapping towards the front, man. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
That,
So
he would have been a great rider, dude, in the early 90s, like when Yates and all those guys came. That's how they rode with. I'm not saying he's a sloppy rider, but they kind of ride with reckless abandonment. I mean, you can see how bad they want it. They're not, God bless you, they're not really worried about how they look. They want to get in there and get the job done. And he's another one of those guys, dude. He really lets it hang out, and that is super exciting to watch. I hope people
you know
get
what?
that some kind of thrill out of Superbike when they watch it. I know it's
Yeah.
going to run away with Cam, and then it splits out. But I wish we were talking about the Superbike battles like this. Maybe this weekend coming up.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, shit, you guys got 3 races to figure it out,
Yeah.
you know? So we got, before we continue on, like I have some other stuff that I want to, you know, roll up our sleeves and do our,
Sweet.
yeah. But I have a guy that wants to know, his name is Joseph Novella, and he
Oh yeah,
says,
I know Joe.
do you? Okay.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
So Chuck says, I hope you guys are in talks to bring Cam Peterson under the Westby tent for 21.
He hears there's talks.
He says he hopes.
Oh, you know what? Trig, well, we went through this before about two riders. Cam is definitely somebody that I think I would have some interest in working with. But I don't have a place or budget for him, unfortunately. He's another guy who I think in the past, I think he was serious, but like he's real serious now. Kind of like where Matt is. It's like, and I didn't expect Cam to change like overnight, and he did. He's another one who's a different guy this year, and I wish I could help him more. He's a good dude. He's solid. There was a time when I thought he was really immature and stuff like that. And of course I shouldn't talk shit because I'm still immature, but he's really impressed this year. And if not even for what he's done on the track, it's what he's done off the track. To speak to him, he's really a gentleman, and he's not flighty, and he's where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be. It's very enjoyable to be around him. And Joe Novella, thank you for that question. And I really wish we had one or two riders in every class and two semis, but not anytime soon, Joe. I mean, I'd like to.
So Novella is saying that he's like, come on, man, expand the team. It could be the Westby South African Assassins.
Well, that's the other problem, because South Africans are like guineas, they're like us Italians. You know that where there's one, you lift up a manhole cover and a bunch of them run out.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So
South Africans in the Motor America series this year, right? I mean,
yeah,
you got that Celtic kid, right? And
yeah,
you got
lock
Mike
off.
Doyle, I think,
Yep,
also South African.
yep.
I'm like,
And
wow, dude, like it's
yeah,
like
the lock off
South
kid.
Africans in the in the late, in 2020 is like Australians in the late 90s, right?
The lock off kid's going to be real good too, because now he's starting to grow physically a little bit. He was so small for so long, and if he keeps on going the way he is, he's going to be hell on wheels. There's no doubt about it. And it was so funny, dude. At Barber, there was some girls walking around, and they were standing in front of the West. They're standing in front of the Westby canopy, and they're like, "Oh my God, yeah, no!" Oh. And I'm like, "Who are these chicks talking about?" It was like the Brady Bunch type stuff, And then one of my was it one of my crew guys? I can't remember who it was. They're like, "Oh, they're talking about Sam Lockoff. He's going to be a real lady killer." And I'm saying to myself, like, no, stay away from the girls, stay out of relationships, just focus on your racing. But no, he's come a good way this year.
He has.
And he's got look, he's working with Ludington, and he's over there at Celtic too. So Al obviously know what he's doing, and I think it's inspiring to work with somebody who has won that many championships in Superbike. It's got to, I think that helps the effort as a whole. It makes everybody around you comfortable. But yeah, back to the South African thing real quick. That is something that like our sticker guy always sends South African stickers for like name stickers and stuff to put on the bike. But like I don't mean this in a bad way, but one of Trig's thing is if there's going to be any flag on the bike, it's going to be an American flag because I own the team and I respect that. And I asked Matthew if he minded that, and he said, absolutely not. No one's doing it to be disrespectful to him or his heritage or lineage or anything. And it's kind of a weird, Trig is a very proud American, and by God, we're going to give him exactly what he wants. And I don't think anybody takes offense to it. I hope nobody takes offense to it because it's not pointed that way. It's racing, not politics.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you kind of gotta do what the guy that's writing the big check says.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there is a difference for people who don't understand the difference between a guy like myself and Trig Westby, for instance, or let's just say a guy like Walker and Richard, or no, better yet, because Walker's awesome, Joseph and Richard. They both, they're both hot rods, but each one of those guys signs a check in a different place.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Richard and Trig, they sign the front of the check. So therefore we can endorse it. So when you're signing the front of the check, you pretty much guaranteed to have what you want.
Right. So let's talk about like what do you think what do you think of the state of the sport? I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago, right? Like all the motorbike shops, and like every manufacturer
sold out everything.
Sold everything. Like
right.
They literally sold the entire years of inventory. That never happens.
Yes.
Right? So yes. I mean, personally, I'm looking at it. I'm not really hearing anybody talking about it, but I kind of I told you I had a meeting with Chuck Graves yesterday, right? But like we were talking about it, and it's like, dude, there's this boom that nobody's talking about that could possibly feed the sport for an entire generation, right? I mean, at least 10 years, probably, if we do it correctly.
I hope so. I mean, I hate to be one-sided and only look at it from a racing point of view, because obviously retail sales are going to drive more racing and more support and stuff like that. Dustin, I don't know enough about what goes on at these big companies to have a definite say in it, but I got to believe there has to be some kind of restructuring at some point. There's people who do this, like, we're out of a lot of OE parts right now at Yamaha. Well, stuff that I need anyway. I'm sure if it's generator parts or, it's good for them to be out of parts, but at some point that void has to be filled, right?
Right.
Like, how do you trickle it back in? Do you just, as a factory, do you just make, you're back over to 30, do you make 50? I don't know how that stuff works, but the only thing I'm afraid of is that if this whole thing, I think the longer this thing goes on with the COVID, man, I hate to say it, but I think it will benefit us even more, just because people are so encapsulated to their passion right now. People want to be happy, including myself. I want to be happy. And if motorcycles bring you joy or boats bring you joy or whatever, that's fine. When we get back to the real world, I just hope that people I hope they can reflect a little bit and go, oh, this is why I did this. I enjoyed it so much, no matter what it is, motorcycling or whatever it is. I hope they don't go back to their old lives and just become slaves to the grind again. I mean, I don't ride motorcycles, but I love what they do for people. And that's why I'm so intrigued and I love being a part of it. But I hope that moving forward, yes, I don't think we're going to have, I shouldn't say I don't think we're going to have record sales. That's because that's foolish, but it'd be interesting to know how these numbers coming up will stack up against it when the motorcycle industry was really good, like in the early 2000s or the late 90s,
Right.
when all the popular stuff came out, does that still dwarf where we could be? Will we never see those numbers again? I don't know that. But it is crazy because a lot of the manufacturers seem to be gearing themselves towards, I don't want to say smaller bikes, but friendlier bikes to ride, friendlier bikes to finance. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw the hypersport part of the industry get a little smaller from the OEMs, but that should help guys like Richard and myself and all the other bike shops around, because it'll become even more of a closed group in regard to, I think people will covet it more.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it more from, when I say they've emptied out, right? They've not only emptied out of all of our stuff, but they've emptied out of all the little stuff too, like all
it's all gone,
bikes and all that. And so
yeah.
what I want to know is what your opinion is on, how do we steer those kids that are riding motorcycles in the desert right now and for the first time in the last 4 months, right? All these new kids that are riding motorcycles right now that weren't prior to COVID, and their parents may not even have been part of the sport before COVID. It can't. I have to believe that all those sales weren't from people that were already existing buyers, right? I'd have to check the numbers on it.
Right.
Maybe some of the marketing dudes, Yamaha, could share some of that stuff with me. But I'm curious. And how do you think we get those kids that are out there riding motorbikes right now? How do we get those kids interested in the crap that we're doing?
Manufacturers are going to hate me right now, but it really is through activation. And I think besides the activation, the rest of it could be kind of luck. Like the luck side of it is there's some guys coming back through the paddock right now because they have some extra money and time off, obviously, but they're coming back through the paddock, but with their kids, or their nephews or something. Like I'm starting to see a lot more familiar faces, even guys who are representing. They're just out there to represent, help give back and help a kid out from the local club. I've seen several of my own friends doing that, which is just unbelievable. But I also believe the activation, I think there's something to be said for something I've always wanted to do. I hated school when I was there, but Chris Ulrich used to do it with the Kids Don't Smoke deal.
Yeah.
And go to the schools and that reached bazillions of kids. It was a little hard for me to do because I was smoking then, but don't smoke. But I think a program like that, revolving around some of it revolving around safety, but also the thrills aspect of the sport, what the sport has to offer, where you can have interactions, like real interactions. Most of the kids are geeked up these days. They know way more about computers and handheld devices than I'll ever know. I think you can intrigue a lot of kids to be involved in what like Yamaha has, where you can program your bike and where you have data on there and you can change mapping and stuff like that. I think it'll mean something to them. It can kind of personalize their bike. But I do this year, if I did it, it would have been just a tremendous loss. We would have lost so much money, but I would really love to gear an area towards kids. You know, they have that one feature in Moto America where they have the Strider kids there,
Yeah.
which is really good. And it's always, do the things always jamming. But then this past weekend, my buddy Dustin Metter, his son Colton, they got him on a Strider, and now they have him on one of those little, I'm not sure if it's a Stasic model or what it is. If so, forgive me.
Is like the electric Strider?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So his kid rides that thing all the time, and Dustin rides with him, right? Like Dustin will ride the Z50 with him, or his wife will, and they get that kid going. So they get him going to the skate park, they get him going through the neighborhood, all this other stuff. So then he takes them out, which I think was at Hallett this past weekend. They had some mini races, and the kid goes P1 times 3, does the hat trick. And that's how you start it early. Like, even if it's just a little plastic trophy or the recognition, that's how you're going to start it. And that kid is going to get, you know, I know Dustin totally is gay for 2 wheels. Now, that's right, I said it. And now his kid is too. So now the kid's surrounded by people who are really into this sport. I'm not saying he doesn't have a chance to be an award-winning cellist or basketball player, but this is the opportunity that's around him. And when you see, I don't really care for children, to be honest with you, but he posted some pictures up of the kid, and the dude, you know, like he had the Batman smile going, and I'm like, wow, that's, you know, like he had the game-winning football in his hand almost, you know.
Oh,
That's
sure.
a big deal. And I think that's infectious. And I think if you take it slow and you do it at the rate that the child wants to do, or what you can financially do, I think you can groom some really good times and make some good memories and run some people through the sport as well.
Well, you know what? A couple months ago, I guess you could say it was a couple months ago now, right? Anyway,
Don't look back, man.
maybe it was like the beginning of the month. But anyway, the beginning of the month,
When you had your period.
I gave a 2-up ride to this kid who's apparently, like, I don't pay attention to this stuff, but like apparently he's like a big deal in the youth football deal, you know, and he didn't even know that it could be a thing, right? So I gave this kid a 2-up. His stepdad was like, he told me later that his wife told him not to do that.
Of course.
And I'm like, really, man? You're gonna ask for forgiveness? Then, you know, I'm like, really, dude? She's gonna put a hit out on me or something.
Right.
But I gave this kid a ride, and the look on his face, I posted his reaction video, and it's like, you know, afterwards, I guess all the way home and the next couple of days, kids grinning ear to ear, wanting to get into bikes, you know. And sometimes it's like little simple thing, I think, that, you know, I mean, years ago, I took my nephews dirt bike riding and they were ruined, right? They were just like, okay, wrestling is stupid now, right? So,
right.
You know, sometimes it's just that little thing that some people, I don't know if they're not willing to do it, or the parents are afraid to push that, you know, because motorcycles are evil and dangerous and all of that. And, you know, I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of that, once people really get what motorcycling is all about, and I made this analogy, I think the last time we were on, or maybe when you and I were talking, but anybody who's really into surfing is really into the zen of the sport. And, you know, it brings them to a place. And I can remember the first real motorcycle I had, street bike, where I actually went and I got my license and everything. I was young. I was 17 years old, I think. And remember that summer, dude, I rode, and I ended up riding with a bunch of guys. Dude, there were 10 or 12 of us at a time that would ride. And it was back in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And we used to ride along the shore. And there were several different routes you could take. So you're right on the water, a few blocks over, and then the highway, you know, that runs 93, runs from Boston to the Cape. At any rate, on those nights, on those summer nights and on those spring nights, dude, or even in the autumn nights, just cruising with that pack, the sound of all those inline fours together, some of the best times of my life. I don't care to ever throw a leg over a motorcycle right now because I'm old and decrepit, but the smile, I'm telling you, dude, I could go to bed, dude, having a shit day and just smile and not wait to hear that motorcycle again and get on it. And it's not just for me. It's got to make people happy. And I think right now in this world, more than anything, I know people want to be healthy. I think people want to be happy. I really do.
Well, I
and
mean,
motorcycles can bring you joy.
it's no secret. I mean, I've been the track day guy for 20 years, right? And it ain't because it's all about the money, because
No,
anybody that knows this business that knows there's no money in it.
that's right.
you know, so I'm super into it. I think anybody that's seen me at the track probably knows that there's not very many people that are having more fun than me when we're out riding.
You're providing an opportunity though too, which I think is really good. And you really, honestly, Dustin, I mean, I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but you're providing somebody with an opportunity, and you're the one that's taking all the risk. And I admire you for that. I mean, I truly do. Any of these track day guys, the organizers, I really admire them. Anybody who owns a race series, I admire. I was at Weir the other day signing Maddie up for some races this weekend at Road Atlanta just to do some testing. And it's like, man, the struggle is real. You know, Evelyn was there and I was talking to her and it was so good to see her. And I mean, she's been through the best of times and the worst of times and et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of us have in the motorcycle industry, but creating opportunity again, you know, yes, I have to pay to play with you, but I can't do with you at track days. I can't do that on my motorcycle down on the highway, not safely anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a we all collectively, I guess you could say, we all kind of provide a safer place to play.
Mm-hmm.
We spend extra money to have multiple ambulances and all that stuff. So stuff that you don't get in the local mountains.
No, and you guys definitely have your hands full out there with the canyons, and we do here in North Georgia too, you know, and very close to the tail of the dragon. I've never even been to see any of that, but so many people go do it. And again, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's awesome, but I think that I think track days are really important. When I came up racing, there was only one track day that I knew about, and it was what the LRRS used to have on Thursdays before an event. You go up there for $40 and ride from 8 in the morning till noon, just to go around for a few laps. There's no flag stations.
That's at Loudon, right?
What's that?
That's at Loudon.
It is in New Hampshire, yeah. New Hampshire National Speedway. So now to think that, you know, you've got, you know, you guys, you got PRE, you got N2, you got track day winner, you got, I mean, and then all the riding
schools. A lot out here, man. I mean, it seems like every 6 months a new club's popping up, you know. But we keep doing our thing, and contrary to a certain Superbike backmarker's opinion, we didn't kill racing. So there you go.
Hold on a second. Time out. Who said the track days killed racing?
Some backmarker guy. Sam V.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is that did he say that in that article?
No, he was like we kind of went back and forth on something Heron posted or whatever. And I talked about it last week or whatever. But
dude, that bums me out that he would say that.
Yeah.
But it bums me out because
using his logic, I mean, you look at the numbers, the back in the day before track days were existing, club racing grids were big, and now the track days are big and club racing grids are smaller. He's like, the numbers don't lie.
Okay, so what if a guy wants to go to a track? So let me just lay this at you. It doesn't piss me off, but it
pissed me off. I take the shit.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Put everything into it.
So right. So here's the deal. Again, you're providing someone with an opportunity. And to qualify for your track day, your motorcycle needs to meet certain technical specifications. You need to pay a certain amount of money. You have to show a certain kind of etiquette, and then you'll get put into a certain kind of group in advance or back down. Now, I got to say that probably 50%, because I don't go to a lot of track days, but I would say probably 50% of those people, I don't give a shit if they're on the grid at a Moto America race or not. Right. And they probably shouldn't be on the grid at a Moto America race. But there might be 10% of those people that figures and sees that they're good at it or has a real interest and really pursues it, a professional career in it, not just to make the grid and ride around, but to really focus and work harder and go better and do everything better. Just like you're a kid, you're playing Little League, you start off at T-ball, Little League, blah, 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 Babe Ruth, all that other shit. That's kind of the way I look at the track day thing. So to think that a track day killed racing, is crazy, because I would love to see us turning people away on the grid. But if
Right.
there's a difference in a lap time of many seconds, it doesn't do any good. Like it, so
Right.
yeah, you just, you know what,
So
man, you
like, I
shouldn't
mean,
be at a
you know,
Moto
what we
America
do,
event. You shouldn't be racing at a Moto America event to be there just to be there, in my opinion.
right.
And I don't believe I'm sorry to hear that the Sam said that, because I don't believe he wants to be there just to be there either. I feel he wants to excel, and I feel he wants to do better. So yeah, look, it's his opinion, and everybody's got
I
to
mean,
be
everybody's got
entitled.
one, right? But you know, I mean, guys like me, I know I'm not super unique. I mean, it ain't rocket science, right? So, you know, we basically try to. I guess it might be unique, at least in our area, but you know, when people come to our events, we kind of show them the path to racing. Like, hey, man, just a heads up. See those crazy guys over there? You could do that too.
Right.
And you know, we've in the last 10 years, we've probably graduated over 1,000 people into the club racing grids.
That's awesome, dude.
So it's like, okay, dude. So like, we kind of feed the sport. And I
Let me
don't
ask you
care.
this.
Like, honestly, a lot of people think that racing is you know, it's a way to lose track day customers. And I'm not really concerned with that because, dude,
No.
because I think it'll feed the sport and we'll get more new people. Like that's
Right. I was just going to say, by the time they get to Moto America, they've pretty much been taught and filtered out. You know what I mean? Unless the kid's just a phenom and he's like, you send him to a track day, you're like, oh my God, you're an expert. Like Colin Edwards, for instance, when he did dude, he was, I'm never going to say he was a nobody, because that is so fucked up. But I'll never forget it. He rode that oil treatment service fleet of Dave Harrell's. And we were down in Daytona. It was 1989 or 90. And he had a Honda F2, an RS 125, an RS 250, an RC 30, and some other ridiculous. And he entered everything he could. And they left that place with a U-Haul full of #1 plates and trophies.
oh my God.
And oh yeah, it was wonderful. And so like you get one like that. He's one out of every 5,000 we bring through. But think about the other guys that we bring through, right? They're sorted. All these people are they're for the people that really want to be in the Moto America program or another program and be really great, they're gonna work on this stuff. I would say that there's not many, if any, people in the paddock this year just to be grid fillers. Our racing's pretty serious. If there are grid fillers there, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Follow the rules, and hopefully we
Yeah,
can bring you through the
you know,
ranks.
it's I guess you could say like our level is so grassroots, it really doesn't, you know, maybe in the future some of those people do end up on the Moto America grids, and we've certainly seen some of those people we've helped out when they were younger or
Right.
now.
But
And
that's not your goal, is it?
no, dude, our goal is just show them a good time, you know,
Right. Because
and
I
hope for the
know
best.
that,
And the reality is, you know, the cream rises to the top, right?
right.
So, you know, maybe, you know, they're using Cameron as an example, right? So Cameron didn't really need track days to like be pushed forward. You know, we did see him when he was younger. We saw him when where everybody was like, who the hell is that kid on the 125?
Right.
Right.
Well, that
But
goes back to a Colin Edwards type thing, right? There are those people.
yeah,
Danny Essick was the same way.
but that's like the exception to the rule.
Yes.
And then that kind of proves the rule, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you know, so yeah, he didn't need us. You know, he was going to go racing anyway and be champion anyway. But there's a lot of kids that don't find racing without it first. You know, they come out and get a taste, and also not only that, but not everybody wants to go racing. You know, I've got a bunch of older enthusiastic customers that aren't racing and they don't want to race. They just want to go and do laps on their R1M or whatever, you know.
There were some guys back when I used to do some vending at a couple of track days out this way, and there were some guys there. They were older. They were in their late 50s, probably early 60s, and they went out and they bought, all these guys bought really big fast bikes. And the bike of choice back then for those guys was that BMW S1000R when it first came out. And dude, there were a guy come to me and he says, look, I haven't ridden since I was a kid. And I go, how old are you? He says, I'm 62. I said, what do you consider a kid? He goes, 22, 23. This guy went out there, and one of the riders coaches was behind him, and he could take that motorcycle, dude, and hold it wide open. and just laid black marks everywhere and not wheelie. You know, he had everything dialed way back down on it. And that guy did that for 2 or 3 years. And then finally he just, you know, he had had enough of it. And, you know, I don't know if he got burned out on the sport or lost his job or whatever, but all he wanted to do was go ride specific tracks with specific groups on this bike and do what he loved to do. And that is, I also think that is so important to the track day business as well, that you have that consistency. Generally speaking, most of the time, a lot of those guys, even though they want to be there by themselves and keep everything quiet, they do end up paying it forward. They'll help some kid out or somebody whose bike who falls over or change a wheel. I think also the track day situation is good because I've found that it builds camaraderie. A lot of it.
Oh yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of big groups of friends that all come out, and I'll do like a discount code or something for them. And I mean, literally, I mean, I'll just call them out. There's this guy, his name is Joe Rocha, and every year the cockroach.
Joe Rocha.
Yeah, the cockroaches. That's what we call
it. It feels good when it rolls off your tongue.
Yeah.
Rocha.
So every year we have this Thanksgiving event. You know, I think this year will be our 16th year doing it, and every year the cockroaches just invade that weekend, and it's hilarious. I mean,
but it's their deal.
They have the RV out, they got garages, and it's pretty awesome. Those guys are hilarious. I saw Joe the other night at Supermoto, and he's just, you know, he's like the leader of the dip. He's like the king of the dipshits, right? It's
That's awesome.
Love
That's
it.
awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So you know what, man? There's a couple other things. Let's see. That Tyson Thurman. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but he wants to know if you know of any R1 experts in the El Paso area that could help him or whatever. Paso, Texas.
I would say, in all honesty, and I hope I don't offend anyone because I can't remember, but I think if you're in the El Paso area, the place you should probably looking at going is going all the way to Tucson and going and seeing our friend Evan Steele at Evan Steele Performance.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah.
Well, it is a good call. Evan knows that bike really well. Him and Phil got a dynamite shop out there. Easy to deal with, do good work. They know the bike really well, like I said, and I think that would probably be well worth the ride. You know, people, I know guys that come to shops down here and get their stuff dyno tuned by certain people. Freddie at SBU, he's done a bunch of stuff for guys from Canada. And when people serve people the right way, people will travel. So yeah, you know what, Tyson, do yourself a favor, maybe take a long weekend or something, and give those crazies over at ESP, Evan Steele Productions.
Performance.
Is that what it is too?
Evan Steele Performance.
If I was there, it would be a production.
Oh, I bet it would. A production of sprinkly donuts.
Oh, I like them. I like donuts without anything on them, but I'm not going to discriminate either. I'm not a big frosting guy.
Oh,
I mean, I know I look that way, but I'm not a big frosting guy.
I see where.
Who else wants to know what?
Okay, so the other guy is let's see, let me find him, because Mike Capoulos. He wants to know, when is Sully gonna build an MT-07 for Twins Cup?
Sully is man, I don't know if I should be able to talk about this, but
who's Sully?
Sully, yo.
Oh
no, Sully. He's referring to my crew chief Ed Sullivan, extraordinaire.
Okay.
Ed has a what could and should be a very trick MT-07. He's done an awful lot of work on, a lot of composite work on it, really trick engine and stuff like that. It just so happens that Ed has 29 and a half or 30 other projects going. He is married to the lovely Trisha and is father of the lovely James. So family obviously takes a bit of a precedence. And then of course I take all of his idle time. So yes, there is a really trick MT-07 or FZ-07, I should say. And it's very, very unique, but it's undercover. and it won't break cover until Ed gets his shit together.
So that Twins Cup class is getting pretty competitive too, man.
It's out of control.
Dude, it's insane.
Out of control.
So I'm like, dude, come on, Trig. Like, let's get an MT-07 painted gold. Let's do it.
Dustin, again, like I said, I'd love to have one or two of everyone. But you got to be careful in that class. That's like a heroin or a crack class, because there aren't too many rules. And boy, I could
get arms race class is what it is.
Oh, dude. I mean, look, we could do some cool shit. And like there is some cool shit going on. Like the kid from Ghetto Customs who won the championship last year or the year before.
Yeah.
Parrish.
Yeah.
Dude, his bike is bitching. He's making all that body work himself now. It's like all this Moto2 stuff.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And the first couple of years, there's some real shit boxes out there. And now people are starting to get them tightened up, and there's a couple more Yamahas. I mean, God knows there's a lot of SVs, but we're getting some decent racing in that class until Rocco showed up. Ugh. Rocco Boubier.
Yeah, he is kind of a race-winning machine, isn't he?
He's a jerk.
Yeah,
no, I love that kid. I mean,
dude, he was at the go-kart track Saturday night too, man.
Dude, I saw the video.
He's insane.
He's something, isn't he? I mean,
yeah.
And he's still a kid too, which is so cool.
Well, what's so weird is I've known that kid. I've known his dad when his dad raced back.
Right.
Right. So like I've known him his whole life. And huge. Like in the last year, the kid's grown a foot. He has like his voice dropped and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Did Stoney tell you what happened when they went over for the first Red Bull race this year?
No.
He's like, yeah, we kind of walk in and the Red Bull dudes are like, whoa, hey, what, hey. And they were concerned because of his size, and that it may have early on wiped out some opportunity for him with some offers that he had. But I don't think that kid, obviously he's too big for Moto3 now. And to be honest with you, with the stuff that he's riding, I see him as more of a 600 kid and then wherever he wants to go. And I don't think he's a flash in the pan, brother. I just hope he ends up with someone who will, I don't know if nurture is the right word, but I hope somebody is involved with him who cares about Rocco and isn't looking at dollar signs. Cause that's, at this point, you're not going to make any money off the kid. You know what I mean? Let the kid make enough money and survive. I mean, I know Stoney won't let that happen and his mom won't let it happen.
I mean, I know they're involved with the Mythos deal. I kind of help steer that to happen. And,
nice.
And it's like, dude, Mythos USA couldn't afford to keep him. And I called Bruno and I was like, dude, if you want to keep this kid, you better get a checkbook.
Right.
So, I mean, details, but I guess Bruno keeping them in suits and all that and trying to sort them out. And
Rocco's really intriguing to me because I think part of his deal is being around the family and being as relaxed as he is. I would almost be afraid that if you took him out of that and took him out of that element where he didn't have his homies, and I think it's all part of him relaxing and getting into his chi, I remember, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to go ahead at the Ridge. He come up to me. Let me take that back. I went up to Stoney and I said, Cody fell down. I go, and he banged his head, and I go, and I'm not looking to replace a rider. I said, I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen. I said, but his motorcycle looked like it hit a phone pole and they had shit flying everywhere. And I said, if you don't think you can make it, get the paperwork changed and I'll let you ride this bike. And he goes, okay, I'll let you know. And that
would have been interesting.
Oh, dude, the kid rolls up on me and he's like, hey, I was talking to my dad and, he said that I could ride that R3 if something happened. And I said, yeah, you can. I said, I don't want to replace Cody, but if you want to showcase the bike, you could, it would be okay. For this one thing, till you got your bike back together. And he says, yeah, I can win on that. It'd just be a little bit harder. And
I love that kid's attitude.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was very, he didn't say it in cockiness. He said it in confidence. And it made me feel so good to hear somebody say, hey, I can do that. And I don't think it's because it's a Westby bike. I just think he's that confident in his own skin. He can look at something and go, yeah, I can make a little music on this, or no, I ain't going to go for shit. And I think he's another one of those kids, if you give him a motorcycle, it doesn't fall apart and he's able to do some laps and he has some good technical people around him. I
Yeah.
think he'd be real scary, dude. And it's not like there's a rush either. You know, he's still such a young man. We're lucky to have him, dude. I know he wants to go to Europe bad, but I sure would like to see him stay, because I don't think if he waits, I don't think time's going to pass him by. I really don't. There's been some guys like that.
Right.
That it didn't matter how long they stayed here when they like, dude, Garrett Gerloff, those guys have no idea. I mean, seriously, dude, if his deal stays true for next year and he has the same deal, he's going to fuck some of those guys up square. They're not going to know what happened. He's not supposed to be doing that. He's an American.
Right.
And I'm like, when I watched the tape of him when he got off his bike and to see how excited his guys were at the podium, I mean, honest to God, dude, I shed a tear.
Dude,
Because I'm
gasoline
like,
on fire is what it was. Right? I mean, he's
he
definitely,
willed that. Don't get me wrong, he's got a great bike and a great team. He willed that shit to happen. And it's so inspiring, dude. It's so, and to me, that's the way I look at Cam Boubier, and that's the way I look at Matthew Skoltz right now.
yeah.
They're gonna make it happen. I think Jake is obviously right there too, but those kind of people, they just have laser beam focus. I mean, dude, Garrett Gerloff's gonna do it no matter what anybody says. He got that ride because he went over there and got in people's faces and was aggressive. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much Spees had to do with it or not. If Ben had something to do with it, God bless him for doing it. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, to give back. But I'm super proud of Garrett. I mean, I'm sorry that the season has taken the turn that it has with the COVID and less races for those guys, because he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's interesting that you talk about giving back, because I've been hanging out and talking to Curtis Adams quite a bit lately. I don't know if you know who he is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's a good boy.
Yeah. So Curtis, he was kind of a legend when I came up, right?
No, he was a legend. He wasn't kind of a legend.
Dude,
He's a legend.
Yeah, but he also was sort of like my race dad,
Sure.
So like on race weekends, he like basically whatever Curtis said is like, okay, well, Curtis says that's it. That's must be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Curtis and I were talking, and he's really into giving back to the sport. And I guess he's been working with Hunter Dunham this year.
And that's
the other Georgia boy down there. And
Curtis has done very well with that program.
It's unfortunate. Hunter, I guess, is he's out. I think he broke his arm and he's pretty much done for the season, maybe. But man, like you could see that kid starting to turn around, and I'm sure Curtis has had lots of interesting advice, like don't be a pussy. But because I know that's what he told me when I was in my early 20s. He's like, oh yeah, you got to do this, this, and this. Oh, and by the way, don't be a pussy. But
well,
yeah.
I think there's people that you can say that to, and people you can't say it to. And
Right.
it's funny. I was talking to Hunter's mom, Amy. Her and her husband Tony and Hunter, they're good friends of mine. I'll always do what I can for those guys. And again, it's little steps with a kid like Hunter. He's very unique in his size, and he's very unique in his experience. And he is a very good motorcycle racer. Actually, anybody who can qualify on a Moto America grid, any class, is a very good road racer, period. But he really got thrown into the deep end. Junior Cup the first year, I mean, that was pretty intense. He did well. Then he rode the MP13 R6 and high-sided himself to the moon and took a helicopter ride. Then he did himself at the Ridge, and then he did himself again at Barbara. And his mom was telling me they were trying to get the thing plated, and he wanted to be back for Indy. And like I was like, oh man, like there's no time limit in this wrestling match. Like he doesn't need to come back and do this. And I think he can reflect. But the way this whole thing wraps back around to Curtis is, I think there's been times, and I don't know this for fact, when you walk down there And you can just see Curtis in his tone going like, come on, kid, you need to twist the fucking throttle.
Yeah.
But I think there's also something to it. You know, Curtis didn't give a shit if he could ride a dirt bike at a job site, and you know, he would do it. If he could ride a Z50 in a driveway, he did it. If Curtis is that guy. And I think it's hard for somebody who isn't a natural daredevil to get on these motorcycles and do it all. It's the same thing, right? Like with the data, like I was telling you, you weren't. Oh man, I was 10 feet off the.
No, you weren't.
I was doing a knack. No, you weren't. You know, it feels like it did. The forks weren't even extended all the way. So I think Curtis and some older guys, some veterans, no offense, Curtis, not older, but veterans, they're like, just twist the thing. Just fucking do it. Come on.
Yeah.
But it's not as easy. I mean, that's one of the reasons I don't road race anymore. And I was never really that great at it when I did it. It's because I was afraid to twist it.
Curtis was when he was racing, he was the nicest guy in the pits. But
absolutely,
man, he's the first dude to stab you in the neck racing.
Yeah.
He's the most aggressive dickhead racing. But in the pits, he was like the cool, hey man, how's it going? You know?
Do you think like when Curtis and Chuck Graves were racing together, you know, if they ever got into a fight, like a cage match or something, it'd be like, this isn't fair. You shouldn't be picking on guys that are smaller than you. But do you think Curtis was that kind of guy? Like if he saw Chuck go into the bathroom, he'd go in there and give him a royal flush or give him a wedgie or something and then not say anything to anybody?
Absolutely not.
He wouldn't do that, would he?
As soon as the checkered flag dropped, that was it.
It was on.
No, as soon as the checkered flag was up, it was over. You know, there was nothing. Everything that they did fighting wise was on track. Once the checkered flag, the race was over. That was it. So
do you think all those guys that came through
the pits?
Do you think all those guys that came through Willow Springs have like there's got to be some kind of a WSMC club where they all have like the same tattoo hidden somewhere in their body? Like
I don't have any tattoos.
But you know what I'm saying? Like all those guys, they must be part
Jeremy's
of some fraternity.
got him. You know, Jeremy's got him. He's got the bruises and the experience from that era. You know, Jeremy's over there working, and Frank Aragaki too, man. That dude was a stud.
Frank's on. I like, you know, I messaged Frank earlier tonight. I needed somebody for a reference to somebody, and I said Frank's on. And he messaged me back an hour ago. Hi,
Frank's on.
Frank's on. He's a good boy, and Frank's pretty smart, and he's obviously turned into a hell of a welder, welding all those bombs together.
Well, yeah.
No, welding all those bombs together.
I don't know what you mean.
That's his job.
Really?
He welds fuselages and bombs and shit like that together.
I did not know that.
Yes.
I know he's always been a really smart guy. I mean, even back in the day, like when he did that weird Privateer VHS movie. I know you saw that. I know you did, right?
That's like saying you didn't see Gleaming the Cube.
Oh, Jesus. That's funny.
And I know you know what that movie is.
Yeah.
Or what was the BMX one? Rad. It's like
Rad.
You don't want to admit you saw Rad.
Yeah, you do. Do you have it on DVD?
No, but yeah, I don't want to get into movies now because then I'll look like a real jackass. But do you have it on DVD?
Yeah.
No, but I do have it on Blu-ray.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, we don't watch it anymore. Nobody watches DVDs anymore, but
no,
everything's
on demand.
Everything's
on demand.
Yeah. So what do you think about, you know, because we're talking about the state of the sport and stuff. I mean, it seems like there's lots of new tracks seem like they're popping up, you know, and new pavement too. People are, you know, resurfacing their old track surface. And, you know, Chuck Waller recently did a surface over there.
That was a fucking nightmare.
And then Indy out in Tucson, outside of Tucson. Will Cox.
Yep.
To be accurate.
You know who else did it? And we were supposed to go out this weekend, but we're not going to be able to. Some parts didn't come in, and that's why we're going to go to Atlanta instead. But Carolina Motorsports Park, CMP in Kershaw, South Carolina. Not a lot of people from out in your neck of the woods know what that place is or what it's like. And dude, it is it's in the middle of nowhere, like most tracks, but it is such a cool layout. And for the longest time, the surface was really super abrasive with no grip. So you go out there, like when Maddie goes out there, dude, you just come back and the tires are just destroyed. They're completely smoked. But it's a really fun track, and it's got a lot of everything. It's got sweepers, bus stop, you know, it's got everything you need. And they just redid that place, the asphalt, and they did a really good job on it from what I understand. And, you know, when somebody really does a good job on a resurf, that means a lot. That says they care about their patrons and they want them to keep coming back. And I'm under the impression that it is an absolutely fine surface, much like Barber. And in my opinion, you know, I don't think that some of these guys should do repays unless they're going to do them properly, because I think you find out the hard way. I mean, Barber's Barber. He's going to do everything first class. But those people out at CMP, they're new owners, and I know that was a hefty bill to do it. They did a really nice job there. The people at Mid-Ohio, they got duped. It's bad. You can't race a motorcycle there anymore, as far as we're concerned. I mean, you know, Laguna, they used to do it they had a cycle in which they did it, but I mean, I'm not 100% positive about it, but is there more stuff happening around your neck of the woods? Or,
Yeah,
I mean, I hear rumors, but
yeah, I mean, over at Buttonwillow Raceway, Les Phillips over there is, dude, he's got heavy equipment pushing dirt around, building a new track on property.
And he's doing a track extension.
No, he's a whole different track on the property in addition.
Well, tell me, for the people that aren't in the know out there on the West Coast, or I'm sorry, West Coast people obviously know what's going on because it's not some kind of a secret. But I would like my people to know what's going, because I'll be honest with you, if we have bad weather this winter, Maddie's got a test, so I'll be out there swinging.
I mean, I thought you wanted to come out just so you could like talk smack to Richard with lap times and stuff.
I would, but then he would just smack me. So I don't need to get hit by that guy. He's got a very big hand.
He does, and
he's got a very big hand. I might see the shade coming first, so I could get out of the way, but I doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Buttonwillow Raceway, it's maybe an hour and a half north of Los Angeles. For those that aren't familiar, if you've seen Magic Mountain, Six Flags, it's about an hour and a half from that, and north, and sort of in the middle of nowhere, farmland, right? And you know, they opened, I think they opened the original circuit in the mid 90s, 95, 96 era, I think. And yeah, it's really interesting. I talked to Les quite a bit, and you know, it was my first TrackDaz event, was in June of 2000. And so I talked to Les quite a bit over the last 20 years. And, you know, he's gone through a few repaves. He did a complete repave, I think in 2002. And I think he did another, like literally dig up the whole surface and lay down new pavement, I think in 2014.
That's commitment right there.
The dude is just super into it, man. Like the guy came out and a week before he had to have eye surgery and rode his bike at our track day. Like, the dude is a beast.
That's awesome.
I'm going to be blind for a minute, so I got to ride my motorcycle.
So not to interject, but yeah. So this deal, it's on his property. It's a separate track. And now will there be like a separate pit road and separate garages and stuff? Yep. So it's essentially going to be a facility within a facility.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So like you roll in the gate, it's going to be, you sign in at the same gate. Mm-hmm. And then based on what I saw on the track layout map and stuff, it looks like you hang a right turn after the office and go back towards Lerdo Highway, and it leads you right into where the new paddock's going to be.
That's fantastic.
And they're going through some weird stuff over there too. They got to build a giant kangaroo rat habitat.
Look, I believe it. When
I was like, what the fuck is GKR, Les? He's like, it's a giant kangaroo rat.
Well, at Loudon, New Hampshire, years and years ago, when they switched the place over to the super speed or to the speedway, they had to keep a body of water inside the infield because of this endangered species of box turtles or some shit. Right. So there's always some tree hugger fucking our deal up.
Right.
Not that we should preserve nature. I didn't mean it like that, but as John Ulrich once said to me, I want to leave the biggest carbon footprint I can before I die.
I think we're doing a pretty good job at it, you know, tearing up tires and burning up gas, right?
Exactly. So back to that Buttonwillow thing.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I think it's 2.5 miles. I think it's going to be 40-foot wide everywhere. It's got a 50-foot wide front straightaway. There's the reason why they're taking so long is they're pushing dirt around to like make elevation.
That's exciting.
So, dude, I mean, seriously, I went and stood on it about a month ago, 3 weeks ago or something. I stood at the top of where that elevation change is. Dude, it's like 2 stories.
So when do you
I'm like,
think?
what the fuck, man? He's like, oh, he's like, this isn't even it. We got to backfill this. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, so is that why there's this giant outside the gate? There's this gigantic mound of dirt. Like it's obscene, the size of it. He's like, oh yeah, all of that is for the end. Like that's the dirt they're going to use right before they lay down asphalt. And I'm like, what? So
can you, I mean, I don't want to pry too much, but I mean, like, when do you think they would actually start laying asphalt?
I don't know, man. I'll try to talk to them this week, but yeah, or this weekend. I'm there on Monday, so I've been told to go check out the progress again.
That is really cool. And let me ask you this: do you think you could run a Moto America National there?
You know what, man? They ran one at the Ridge.
Right.
I mean, that was Cameron's take, right? When we were testing there, he was like, dude, if they can run a race here, they should run a race at Thunder Hill, So yeah, I mean, why not? If they could run it at the Ridge, they could certainly run it at Buttonwillow.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I'm always interested in new stuff like that. That's exciting, and that's another good sign of the times for us gearheads. I mean, that really is. That's a big deal. I mean, let's face it. That's not like going out and getting some extra ho-hos or an extra 6-pack of beer for a party. That's a big spend, and so that's good. He's confident and business is good.
Oh, dude, Les is definitely he's throwing the kitchen sink at this thing. So
good for him, man. Good for him.
And it's exciting. When I talk to him, I mean, the dude Les is an older guy. Let's just lay it out. He's an older guy, gentleman racer.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he can throw that kind of money and build another racetrack. What's happened though? I mean, it happens at Chuckwalla and it happens at other tracks too, is you can only grow so much, right? I mean, there's only so many weekends available per year. There's only so many days in the week. And when you've got a place that's busy and it's every weekend's rented well in advance, right? Every single weekend they rent, and a lot of during the week they rent. All of a sudden you're like limiting the amount of numbers that you can have customer wise. So all of a sudden now he's got this new track, so he's doubling the weekends, and who knows? Like I might actually get some weekends out there. Like weekends are like weekends.
I hate to do this to you. My dog's pounding at the door. I'm going to be back in 10 seconds.
All right.
I don't want to wake the wife up.
Yeah, no worries. So I wonder what else I should ask him or talk to him about. Like while he's away, should we ask him about donuts again?
Sorry, pal. That fella likes laying on the front doorstep, though. I don't want to bring him in.
Yeah. So yeah, Lily's out with our dogs outside. So, but
what's the temperature like right now out there?
What's the temperature, dude? It was like 100 today.
Are you serious,
dude? It's like
it's so weird.
Yeah, I had to go into the office today, like in LA, and it was 100 degrees. No shit.
Is that typical for this time of year there?
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah. I mean, it'll typically be like 100 degrees up until like right before Halloween, and then it just tanks.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's hot, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's a dry heat though.
compared to here in Georgia, where you can make soup.
Yeah. So, but going back to that new racetrack thing, I think it's good for the sport, man, because it gives us more opportunity, more places to ride. I mean, we kind of live in this weird bubble out here where there's just a ridiculous amount of tracks in the state of California right now. So,
There's a ton of them.
Within 3 or 4 hours, you can go to Buttonwillow, and you can go to Willow Spring.
What tracks do you guys service?
Right now, we basically been servicing Chuckwalla, Buttonwillow, and Laguna Seca.
Wow, Laguna too. That's a big deal.
Yeah, dude, I did 3 days there. I'm still I'm waiting to hear back, but there's a possibility of a no noise restriction day coming up. So
really,
dude, I'm rolling up my sleeves. Like, come on, give it to us.
And you can have plenty of entries for that, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, dude, as soon as the word gets out that there's no noise restriction, it's like platinum, right? So you got to charge a platinum price for it too.
What do you think of if so it would be a 2-day event?
No, that'd be a single day, like a weekday,
and
like a Monday or something.
Like, what would that typically cost? Not for you, but for somebody who wanted to come ride.
For a no noise restricted day, I don't know, probably like 600 and something bucks, maybe like 650, somewhere around there.
And tell me how that works, because what do they have? The city or the county has an allotment of days that they can make noise.
So, like, I've never been given the exact answer, but yeah, I guess they have like X number of days they can dole out for the year. And usually, like, our days, we've had 3 days this year, all of them were 90 decibel limits.
How do you do that? That R1 makes that more an airbox noise.
You know what? I was actually wheeling past the sound meter on our stock R1, no problem.
No kidding.
And I also got away with it all day, all weekend, actually. That July weekend that you guys are supposed to be racing, we had that weekend. And I left that Yosh 3/4 pipe on there, and we had this guy up there. His name is Jay Murray. The dude like makes these like snorkel things that go in your pipe and points it away from the sound meter.
Right.
I got away with this thing all day.
Hey, I'm not asking methods or anything, but when you guys went there to Laguna for that, I mean, did they make you enforce social distancing? Did you have to wear them? Tell me, if you can, tell me what we're in.
Oh, I'll tell you. Like, I don't, dude, I guess
what I'm saying is, for anybody that's watching,
right?
what do you, first of all, I find it hard to believe. I mean, I want to go to Laguna, but with everything going on, it's like almost hard to believe that it's really going to happen. And I was wondering, like, what do you think the landscape is going to be like up there? I talked to Zemke today, and he said he thinks it's going to be more and more open to.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think it'll be more and more open, but when we were there in June and July, it was pretty difficult. We had to, I mean, it was like we had to have every single person that was attending the event, whether they were riding or not, fill out this log form to get in even be allowed in the gate. And then we had to have them sign special waivers on top of that, or they wouldn't be allowed in the gate. And then I had to Photoshop the paddock with where everybody was pitted. And if you could imagine how difficult that is, considering there's no markings on the ground, we just kind of winged it. We're like, oh yeah, that looks about 10 feet. So like everybody, like we mapped out everybody basically 10 feet apart on the paddock, and then on top of that, then we had our own waivers. Oh yeah, and every single person that was in the paddock at all times, no matter where you were, had to wear a mask the entire time you were in the paddock.
How were your?
Now you could go 300 feet. As soon as you cross the plane from the paddock to non-paddock, you could take your mask off, because that was county park area. But everything in the paddock was masked. And so, we 3 o'clock on our first day in June, they came by, we're talking to them, and we're like, hey, how's everybody going? Because it was kind of stressful and it was kind of new.
Right.
And we're like, hey, how's everything going? And they're like, oh yeah, man, everything's going great. And we're like, okay, cool. Everybody's wearing their mask. They're like, yeah, pretty much everybody's wearing their mask. Great. Then 10 minutes later, those same people are like, yeah, actually, we're having to shut you down because the owner said, you know, the manager guy, president guy said that you guys weren't wearing masks. So I
That
was
he
like,
doesn't
wow,
want what?
that he said 80% of our paddock was not wearing masks, so they
Oh
shut us
my
down at
God.
3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that was kind of fun. You could imagine that, you know, it was pretty weird. So, you know,
How do you, well, never
when
mind.
we were there in July to address that, we had this crazy
Hey,
guy. You might know him, Mike Wheeler from Kyle Racing. I kind of paid that dude in track time and tires for his wife.
sure.
Pirelli actually hooked him up with tires. I gave him track time,
Good.
and he basically was like the mask Nazi for me for the weekend. So
Yeah.
he rode his little pit bike around and was like, "Hey, put your mask on," you know.
Yeah.
And we had no problems that weekend. So, um, you know, I don't know. I mean, I heard a race car team was there right after us, and some race car team got thrown out. You know, it was like SCCA or something. A dude
I believe it.
hit, like, I guess they had the walls open like a so you could go out and smoke or something,
Yeah.
and they threw that team out. So
Really?
they take that mask stuff serious there in Monterey, man. And you'll see it, like, you go down the Cannery Row and stuff, like, there's places where it's like, dude, if you have no mask on, they catch you, they can fine you on the street.
Mm,
So I don't know if they've loosened up that stuff yet. I hope they
looks
do.
like I'll be spending a lot of time in my room.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Well,
Hiding out
whatever. I mean,
behind, right?
if wearing a mask is the worst of it, I just, you know, man, there seems to be some places like when we were out in Washington area, and then when we were out by Philly, or not Philly, but Pittsburgh for that deal. I'm not going to say you got berated, but people like they were adamant. Like, and I get it because they have to be open. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the whole thing of, hey, wear a mask in to get seated, and once you're seated, take the mask off doesn't really fly with me, but I get it, whatever. So
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
it doesn't
a
turn
game,
into that at the racetrack.
you know, it's the unfortunate game that we're having to play right now, and, you know, hopefully that stuff lightens up a bit. But you know, in the comments here, a buddy of mine, he's like one of the Apex Assassins track day dudes. But he was saying that they were just there this past weekend with Pacific Track Time, and he said, "Yep, always had to wear a mask. Each pit was 10 feet apart. And oh yeah, by the way, and I forgot to mention this, they did check your. They had the little gun thing in your head, like
Yeah.
the guy would walk up to your car and be like, "Here," and he'd scan your forehead. So
Yeah. They did that at the Ridge and at Elkhart. Um, I gotta say, there's a lot of people at the Moto America events who are wearing masks. They wear them a lot more than I do. I probably should be more disciplined about that. Um, I'm not. I will wear a mask when required, but I think Moto America has done a really good job with the safety protocols. Little bump there for them because it
yeah,
can take you right. It can
you do.
take you right out, but they've done it, and I think they've done it in a kind way. And I think everybody there feels very fortunate to be racing at all right now with what's been going on.
Well, I also think that I don't know what they've done behind the scenes, but it seems like their Life Plus thing is working a lot better, and you know, we haven't had any problems with it this
That's
year.
great to hear. That's really
It
great
seems
to hear.
like, you know, I mean, that's how I get all the, you know, I have to watch all that shit multiple times, otherwise Richard will eat me alive, right?
Right. Whose
So,
show is it anyway, Rich?
well, dude, Richard's a beast.
I
So, like, I gotta study and make notes, and like you and I can just freestyle, and you know, I have a few bullet points, but dude, I have like a novella of notes for Richard because it's
Yeah,
like,
that's okay. I mean,
dude,
his
dude
deal
is
is
so intense. Like, he'll just, if I have any dead air at all, he'll just murder me.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
after the last show, he actually it wasn't the last show. Is the last show the last one you did with him about
Barber.
all the talk in ECUs?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's episode 7.
I don't know. Like,
Okay,
I don't keep
at
track of
any
that
rate,
shit.
he had, you know, I spoke to him after that, and he's like, you know, you don't think I was to this or to that, and I was like, no way, dude.
Oh, hey, dude.
You know, I think Richard's a very well respected person, and I mean, it's a free country; you can say whatever you want, but um, I don't know. I think he does a really good job with what he says in regard to what you guys are talking about. I think I find a lot of it to be interesting. Um, I do appreciate his forthrightness when it comes to his opinion, especially in regard to rules packages and stuff like that. Because I think if you don't, you want to be fairly politically correct, but if you don't talk about it and acknowledge it, you might as well just never say anything and not
Yeah.
have an input as to what's going on. I know I like to have an input and stuff like that, or at least be heard. So
Yeah.
it's good that someone brings it to the surface level. I mean, Moto America does. They pretty much do that too. They cruise the pits and they're always asking questions. So I don't want to make it seem like nobody addresses anything and everybody's
Oh
skating
yeah,
along. That's
for
not true.
sure.
They're
I
always
mean,
trying
quite frankly,
to get
I'll
better.
be honest with you. There's a few Motor America people that kind of feed me questions.
Oh, is
Like,
that right?
"Man, ask him this, don't
Hilarious.
say it was from me. But those are questions I would ask anyway.
Sure.
I think Richard has a perspective that a lot of people may not know he has, and he's got a quite the strong opinion on things.
But
And
like I said, I think that's okay because he's not fake.
no, not at all, not at all. There's no fake in that dude's game at
So
all. I love it.
for me, I'm not saying he gets a pass, but like, what's he saying that's wrong? He's just sharing his opinion
No,
with
yeah,
most of the stuff,
exactly.
Um, so that's very to me. I enjoy that. I enjoy sharing my opinion. Not as boldly about some things as he does his, but I think if I had some of the experience he did with some of the subject matter, then maybe my opinion would be stronger about some of that stuff. So I try not to speak terribly out of turn. I speak out of turn all the time, but try not to do it terribly.
So that Ty Bankford guy again, he's got a few more comments too. He's like, dude, like I wish they'd allow spectators at Laguna because, if they're taking all those precautions at the gate and in the pits, they'd probably be okay with spectators too, theoretically, right? So
Well,
maybe it's just really difficult to police that kind of crowd at Laguna for
I think
all,
there are.
like, I mean,
I
how would they afford to staff people to enforce that stuff,
well,
because that county is really strict with that stuff. And,
yes,
a lot of people don't realize, Laguna Seca is not like every other racetrack in the country.
correct.
Laguna it's resided and run by the county. It's part of a county park.
Do you,
And so the rules that they have there are because of the county. It's not like you can go talk to Joe track owner and say, hey man, that's fucked up. Like, you can't do that because it's the county runs it, and basically the people that live in that county vote for that crap. So they got to do what the voters there basically
well,
say.
that's right. You got to do what the constituents say.
Yeah.
In response to that question, I I I I want to say I feel your pain, and it's tough with us because they're only allowing us to use so many of our passes. So per entry, like for Matt, we have excuse me, 8 people, 8 crew members that can be there, and for Cody, it's 6. So I think it's 14 people total, and that essentially is our crew. There is a guy that I have work at the shop that I wanted to bring to Indy, and I can't. I can't do it. Um, I think the thing that really stinks is Moto America had put a lot of time and effort into these 2 venues specifically. One, because it's the Brickyard, and 2, because we were going to be at Laguna for the first time in a long time by ourselves. So they had a lot of special things planned with
Yeah.
large numbers of people that were going to show up for these certain activities and events. And I think that the fans would have really, really enjoyed the intimacy of the program. And a lot of it was very fan based. And look, I think they're going to do it again next year. But I would ask that
That bagger
I would
thing.
ask that the fans don't discount the effort that Moto America has made, and just understand it's the very, very, very last thing any of us wanted. I mean, I still have passes, but I can't give them to anybody. I can't use them. They're not valid. Hey, let me ask you this, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I am curious because you live out there and you deal with the track facility itself. Do you think that place is solid for a long time, or do you think it's going to be condos?
Well, the thing is, they can't sell it. Part of the deal, I think they were donated the facility to the county by the military, and part of the deal was like look, you got to take care of it, but you can't sell it. So, you know, I mean, there's been rumors of the place becoming condos forever, and they're pretty adamant that that just can't happen because they can't sell
good.
it.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I will be honest with you, it's not my favorite place to go just because I think we get heckled a lot like we do at Daytona. People are a pain in the ass to deal with there. And
Heckled?
yeah, well, I shouldn't say heckled, just fucked with. I mean, it's a new gate you got to go through. It's a new rule every day. This pass was good this day. It wasn't good the next. You can ride a bicycle. You can't ride a bicycle. You can have a parrot on your shoulder. No, it's got to be a crow.
An iguana, actually.
An iguana, right. I did see an iguana on a guy's shoulder, and another guy had like a albino or white and yellow python or something, which I totally was not down with the whole python thing.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I mean, everybody in the track day business knows that it's Laguna's Laguna, right? And you know, if you're gonna go there, you gotta put up with their stuff. And you know, and if you don't want to put up with that stuff, then stay home.
Yeah, well,
you're crying, you know what I mean?
right.
And so we dealt with it, and you know, I mean, I was less than stoked when they shut my event down. I was fucking pissed.
Dude, how do you go back? How do you go? Well, again, I'm
How do I
asking
talk to
questions
my
I shouldn't.
customers like, sorry, we got lost the last 2 hours of
Even
your
more
event?
so than that, because I think they understand when somebody's a dick and it's out of your control. I think gearheads and stuff get that. But my question to you is how can you go there and willingly pay them that money and not be afraid that that's not going to happen again?
Well, like I said, you know, I was afraid it was going to happen again, but we had spent so much money, and it was like, dude, we have to do it. Let's do it. Let's take away every excuse that they could possibly have to do it again. So that's why we paid that dude to be like,
good
mask Nazi, right? Like Mike Wheeler was a champion for me that weekend, and he
That's great.
hauled ass around the pits with this little pit bike and literally was like, dude, put your mask on. You know, he was like in people's grill. He's like, look, man, if you don't want to put your mask on, he's like from the South, right? So I love that guy. So he's like, oh man, you don't put your mask on, there's the gate, you son of a bitch. You know, like it was like that, dude. It was
Listen here.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, right?
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a big help to us for that. And like they didn't mess with us that weekend. So I gotta think that having him there and, you know, kind of enforcing.
That's great, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we just had to, because it was like, dude, we can't afford to be shut down again. And the way they work, it's like, dude, if they shut us down the one day, they might have shut the second day down and not let it happen. But that would
have been a Greek tragedy, dude. Right? I mean, that can take you out.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Laguna's pretty pricey, man. So,
yeah.
You know, even at a 90 decibel day, which is their least expensive day, you know, but you know, least expensive at Laguna is still pretty expensive.
I know. So,
you know, but there's a lot of tracks here, man. There's definitely a lot of tracks here, and we're kind of spoiled with it. And you know, we're in Southern California, so we get basically to ride. There's not really any such a thing as an off season here. So,
which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. So
it is for sure.
That's why you guys need to take the bus out here in the wintertime and get some fucking testing in, man.
I think it's inevitable, Dustin, honestly, because look, we would go here, we would test at Virginia, right? And there's not a lot of opportunities for that, but we do have PRE, performance riding experience. We'll ride with those guys at Virginia. Road Atlanta, there's really no track days there that we can participate in.
Oh.
It's just, that place is really expensive. I mean, it just is, you know. Then we would test at Little Talladega, but beyond that, in Alabama, and we would go to Barber every once in a while, a lot less now, but you know, we're going to have to chase weather this winter. We can't go book a track day, have everybody come to town and go, oh, it's 35 degrees. We can't do anything. We can't do that.
Right.
You know, if we want to be great or attempt to be great, we need to act as the greats do. And they don't do that sitting in
it was like 80 degrees in December when those guys were testing at Buttonwillow.
That would be awful.
Yeah. I mean, Jake was walking around flip-flops
that's awesome.
At like December tests. So that kind of gives you an idea of how it is.
Exactly. What else we got?
I think we're at over 2 hours, man. So
Yeah, I know.
we should probably wrap this up. And it's getting pretty late for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's late for me, but that's the problem. Hopefully we had some viewers after the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could only talk about donuts and barbecue for so long before you lose people,
Good point. Good point.
right? It's
Hey,
science.
I said it before and I'll say it again. I appreciate what you're doing for the industry, and I appreciate what you're doing for Richard and what you're doing for me, getting Westby Racing some exposure. And I hope you keep on doing it. And I love
Dude,
what you're doing with the track day thing.
thanks,
So
man.
thanks for giving
I'm
me.
having fun with it. It's been fun talking to you, and maybe by the end of the season we'll have another one of these things, and we'll shoot the shit some more and talk some shit some more, which is great. And
You know what I think would be really cool?
yeah.
I think would be really cool is at the end of the year after Laguna, let's just say 2-3 weeks, you do a round table.
Oh, that'd be good.
You get like me, Rich, somebody from M4, Kyle from Kyle Wyman.
I'd be down for that.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it could, you could ask everybody the same question and have a bit of direction. And I think if you had some superstars in there, it would be good. But I think if you had some guys that were mid-pack and in the back of the pack, I think it would be good too. I mean, we all are racers at the end of the day, front, back, or middle. So
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, thanks, Chuck.
I appreciate you.
Like, it's always a good time, man. Like,
thank you,
dude. We talk shit about this, but it's like, dude, we could get, if we don't stop, we'll go for like 4 hours, right?
Right. Bad times. It's bad times.
Nobody wants to listen to two dorks talk for 4 hours.
No.
Anyway.
Stamboli turned off after the first 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm sure he did. He
did.
probably texted you and told you how big of a dummy.
E equals MC squared. Okay, Richard.
All right,
have
man.
a good night, will you?
Yep. You too. Good luck at Indy.
Thank you so much. Peace.
All right.